Hello, guys. Obviously, you can see from the title what we're about to do, but I'm already sidetracked because I have people sending me Hutch tweets, and I'm just like shocked at the sheer length of this. I'm sent this, and I'm like starting to read through it, and then I'm like, oh, okay. We're posting essays. I think we need to be clear on the dynamic that is driving Democratic Party politics right now. Tell me if I'm wrong. It's a longer post, so I won't blame you for skipping, but I'd love to hear what you guys think. The left flank sees blood in the water after Kamala's loss. They're deeply, I mean deeply invested in the narrative that this is their moment to clean house. They are angry, fired up, and emboldened at a level we haven't seen in years. That's a bad thing, I guess, that people are angry. They've kind of, I guess he sees like maybe he's saying like the anger is fine, but like them wanting to like clean house is stupid or something. They've kind of stagnated since their initial 2018 surge, having struggled to break through with some crucially important demographics in ways that have limited their electoral success. They, however, don't see it this way. And instead, okay, so he didn't take anything I said from our debate. Very cool. And limited their electoral success, and instead have landed on mostly blaming all of their losses on the donors / establishment / billionaires, etc., etc. You know, these leftists are always going on about the fucking, the influence of money on politics and, the billionaire class. Like, he acts like it's like a figment of people's imagination. Like, obviously, your analysis needs to encompass more than just scapegoating donors and the establishment. Like, there can be other things wrong with the campaign that lead to somebody losing. But Jesus Christ, it's like to act like it's ridiculous to bring this up, or that it's not a large reason why a lot of progressive candidates struggle, and it's because they have moderate challengers that are well funded. Like, I don't know what to tell you. It's like, it's a relevant thing. It should be brought. It's not discussed enough. You know, billionaires are the one minority in this country that really don't need your protection. They need accountability. You don't need to worry about them. They're fine. They very firmly believe this, and they're very, very, very angry about this perceived, mostly fictional injustice. Holy fuck. This is like, again, it's like a figment of people's imagination that, money, dark money, and even money that is disclosed via super PACs is influencing elections significantly. Why do you think they're putting money into it? Because it changes the outcome. It influences it. They've shifted their primary focus away from Medicare for All and onto Israel. I disagree with that. Images and videos of the horrifying violence in Gaza evoke visceral responses, and they're looking to channel that rage into political movement. I guess this is bad also. This is supposed to be a thing that you're like, oh, that's stupid for them to do. They're dumb to see like the inside of a Palestinian child and be like, hey, I don't like that my tax dollars went to killing that Palestinian child. That didn't need to happen. They see the midterms as a referendum on Israel / AIPAC because they want to reshape the I mean, we don't know that. Like this is, again, so broad and like vague. I don't know what to do with this. Like, they see the midterms as a referendum on Israel and AIPAC. Like, who is they? Who are we referring to here? Which is funny that we're talking about like Israel and AIPAC. It's a common issue. Because they want to reshape the Democratic Party, and Israel has easily been the most salient issue for them for the last 2+ years now. The reason why the left is like railing on against it is because despite that salience, you don't see that reflected in Dem leadership. You don't see that mentioned or talked about nearly enough. And for all discourse just doesn't hit like it used to. I just disagree with this. Them whereas again, the left has not dropped that as a demand. Then Mamdani comes along and does something remarkable in a contest against two scandal-plagued Democrats. He goes from zero name recognition to the focus of a national discussion. His campaign was objectively brilliant. True. Whatever you think about his policies, no one could deny that. It's true. Zohran has an undeniable aura. Even Hutch has to admit it. And I think his win was the biggest shot in the arm for the progressive / far left movement since Bernie's extremely strong start in the 2020 Dem primaries. Was the biggest shot in the arm? What does this phrase mean? Biggest shot, like, is he saying it's bad or good? Is this a turn of phrase that people even use? I guess I didn't know that. something that has a sudden and positive effect on something, providing encouragement and new activity. I've never heard anybody say this, but okay. So he's saying it's a good thing. But they're very much overstating his popularity, and I think they're having a bit of a cart before the horse moment right now. It is definitely possible that Mamdani builds off of his recent success and turns it into a longer career that doesn't stop at NYC mayor. But he has a long way to go. Like, the thing is that he's saying it's not just like the left doing that. You're already seeing other candidates pop up that are attempting to imitate the Mamdani campaign, and they think that just trying to like do this Mamdani slop that's aesthetically capturing what he did is going to be like the thing that helps them win their races, win their midterm, win their election or whatever. And obviously marketing is like part of it, but that's not the only thing. Like, it's a combination of his policies. It also includes the marketing is a big thing, but I wouldn't say it's the primary thing. Just the fact that he's like younger, has a lot of charisma, he's well spoken, like these things also are encouraging to people. Turns into a longer career that doesn't stop at NYC mayor. He's a long way to go and a lot of trust to earn before we get a better sense of where he's ultimately headed. Bro, what the fuck? This is like Hutch is a huge Pete Buttigieg simp. So what the fuck is that about? Pete Buttigieg was the mayor of South Bend, Indiana. There's more people in my goddamn apartment complex than there are in fucking South Bend, Indiana. He was super young to be running as well. He only did that for name recognition and he supports him. Pete Buttigieg also struggles with black voters. So like everything that he says about like a progressive candidate, like they struggle in this respect, they're too young or whatever. One, I think that's more of an advantage. Two, you could say the same thing about like other Democrats that he supports. So I wonder how he like rectifies these positions. I don't think the left is looking at it this way. I guess that's how. I think they see his success as the opening salvo of a left-wing Tea Party movement, and I think them wanting this to be true is clouding their judgment a little bit. They've put a lot of their faith and hope in him to carry the movement forward. It's a lot to carry, and he faces enormous pressure and the weight of a burdensome set of expectation that he's unlikely to meet in full. Yeah, but this is like literally true of any candidate. Every single candidate will end up being like a letdown to like most of their constituents because political reality set in. There's practical things that you have to contend with once you enter office, and all these different interests and opposition groups and satisfying your base and trying to play all sides of this while maintaining a high favorability is very difficult. It's possible that the left is correct, by the way, but it's just way too soon to be confident in that outcome. It would require a seismic shift in Democratic Party politics. Perhaps, I know, but how else are they supposed to bring about this seismic shift if not by pushing for it, if not by being enthusiastic about it, if not like being demanding? I think the way that he believes that like political power is earned in this country is like a lot of it is about like catering to your representative and like patting them on the head when they do something good and scolding them in very, very particular and strategic ways when they do something you don't like or that's bad. But that's not how you get amass political power. Power never concedes anything without a demand anyway. Perhaps the most significant shift in decades, and it would require them massively improving their numbers nationally in ways that seem a bit opaque at the moment. What does that math actually look like? That's a tough question to tackle. I mean, he's talking about progressives broadly, but like the reality is Bernie Sanders in 2016, even though he lost the primary, he was able to, by the time the next Democratic presidential primary came around, you had every single candidate on that stage attempting to do a light version of Bernie's plan. He unambiguously helped move the Democratic Party platform further left and in the more progressive direction. So even though all of those candidates are getting up there and they're not saying, I'm a progressive, they're not trying to run the progressive lane, they bristle at that label because objectively they're not. They were all forced to adopt, at least rhetorically, if not in some cases, their actual policies reflected this, adopt more progressive policies to satisfy where the base had moved. That's a good thing. And that is indicative of a broader progressive shift within the Democratic Party. Plattner is part of this anti-establishment left-wing populist hypothetical hostile takeover of the Democratic Party. Hostile takeover is when your candidate runs in an election and wins. This is a hostile takeover. Like, I think a hostile takeover would include a little bit more than a single candidate, winning a race somewhere. I don't know what that means. It's loaded language. Mills's track record as governor in Maine is somewhere on the spectrum between moderate progressive. Okay, but where? Can we identify where, please? The risk of her winning is still pretty great, to be honest. I think it means like the chances of her winning, not the risk. Like, do you support this candidate or not? Unseating Collins is hard enough, and this would make the already difficult job of taking the Senate back that much easier. But she's old and she supports Israel, so she is unacceptable to them. It's Plattner or bust, and that's how you get to a, okay, yes, he has a Nazi tattoo, but situation. I need to look more into this before I like make comments on this or whatever. Like, I was seeing this trending, but I haven't even looked into it yet. The thing is, to me, I'll just give my superficial glance at it, is like, no, you're telling me a Marine infantry guy got a skull and bones tattoo on his chest 20 years ago? Groundbreaking. I need to look into it more. Maybe he's a Nazi, maybe he's a crypto Nazi, and I'm just missing something. Okay, but I don't know. I'll look into it more. My question to these people is, if Plattner won already and got elected, and then this came to light, would you be calling for him to resign? What would you do then? What if he was already in office? In order for this hypothetical left Tea Party effort to be successful, and also the idea that, like, okay, the Tea Party was funded, like this characterization, like the Tea Party was funded by, it was astroturfed. It had a bunch of money behind it. It had a bunch of like Koch brothers money injected into it. You don't see that with these candidates. These candidates are successful because they literally don't have that sort of backing. They have small dollar donations from their constituents, and even sometimes from out of state, people that are willing to support their candidacies, because a lot of races at this point are turning into like national spectacles because that's how consequential they are. So you have small dollar, like individual people from out of state donating, sure, but there is never going to be a left-wing Tea Party. It's incongruent with how the Tea Party even works, or like any sort of grassroots working class leftist progressive movement. They're mutually exclusive. You're never going to see that sort of funding put behind a leftist movement. It's very little room for error and a big blow up like Tattoo Gate. Can we stop saying everything that like, we have to think of something else anytime there's a scandal that doesn't just turn it into like blank gate. We got to get more creative, you guys. Could really damage the confidence and energy they feel and are projecting on the country right now. His race takes on a much higher level of importance in this context, and understanding that might help to make sense of this particularly crazy moment. Okay. Thank you, Hutch. Very cool. Let's do, really quick. This was fucking insane. I already saw this. Andrew Cuomo's campaign just posted and quickly deleted this AI-generated ad depicting criminals for Zohran Mamdani. This happened during the debate. Features a black man in a kafia shoplifting, an abuser, a trespasser, a trafficker, a drug dealer, and a drunk driver, all declaring support for Mamdani.
Zohran Mamdani's opponents want you to believe he's an inexperienced radical whose policies will make New York City more dangerous. But what do his actual
The fucking eating with his hands?
Supporters think?
Mamdani isn't crazy.
He's just trying to even the playing field.
You know, give everyone a fair shot.
Sure, he said multiple times we need to defund the police, but that was just a metaphor.
And yes, he did say crime is a social construct, but that was also a metaphor.
His main backer, the Democratic Socialists' ideas are common sense, such as
Decriminalizing misdemeanors, like shoplifting.
third-degree assault.
Yeah, that awesome optics there. Awesome choice. Let's show an AI-generated black man putting on a mask and stealing. Love that.
Trespassing.
Prostitution.
And drunk driving.
With plan.
Bro, I wish Mamdani was fucking legalizing prostitution. If he were doing that, here's how you know he's not fucking doing that, because I would already know about it and I would be supporting it. He's not doing that.
To
And it wouldn't be prostitution, it would be sex work, but whatever.
decriminalize all drugs. Mamdani will be a job creator for drug dealers.
Instead of helping us homeless get off the streets and into the mental health.
I'm just waiting for them to say Mamdani's going to bring Sharia law. Mamdani for Sharia law 2025 to New York City.
Facilities we need. He wants to give us safe injection sites to do crack and let us sleep in subway carts.
Cool. He wants to do a thing that has a bunch of data suggesting it's an effective way of helping people overcome their drug addictions. Awesome. Love it.
These are actual policies Mamdani and the DSA want to implement on day one.
When a woman's being
And then, like, again, like this person in the kafia.
On day one.
When a woman's being domestically abused, she finally won't have to deal with some pesky cop to arrest the abuser, but now a social worker to help.
He said he doesn't think we should be arresting people for it. He effectively wants to. Yeah, he wants to decriminalize sex work and prostitution. So basically, if you do it, it's not going to be, it may be some form of crime, or like it may be some sort of like misdemeanor or whatever. But pretty much what you're saying is that it's going to be incumbent upon people to not buy it, and that's going to be who gets in trouble, not these poor desperate women that are fucking doing this shit.
You know, kumbaya the situation.
Breathe in, breathe out.
Mamdani is finally lowering jail sentences.
Guilty!
Cool, based.
But Mamdani said
They said injecting crack problem. That's how you do it. That's how you do crack. You inject it. Hello.
you're free to go.
Who cares if legalizing prostitution statistically leads to an increase for sex
Dude, the black, like, show it like a black pimp on top of it. Love that.
trafficking of women and young girls by 70%?
You can't have safety without equality.
For unlawful.
Like, notice most people in peril in this video are all white people, and everybody who's doing something bad is a person of color, a black guy, or like is identified by some sort of like again the kafia thing.
Abiding citizens like us globalize the intifada.
Who made the vid? The Cuomo campaign. They made this.
Criminal. I'm a criminal. I'm a criminal.
I'm a criminal.
Yep. I'm a criminal.
For Zohran.
For Zohran Mamdani.
Inspiring music.
I didn't have a real job until I was 30, but sure, give me the keys to the city. What's the worst that can happen?
Paid for by Cuomo for NYC.
So super cool. I cannot. Who the fuck? Like, one, who the fuck approved that? Two, the idea, like, that AI saw it was terrible. I wonder how much money, like, some company convinced him to fucking pay for that. Jesus Christ, the racket that you can pull over these fucking moderate candidates that are like boomers and don't understand the internet. Like, he probably paid like thousands of dollars for that bullshit that was probably free for somebody to create for him. Insane. I think Rudy Giuliani is Cuomo's campaign manager. I heard that he hired people. Hold on. Andrew Cuomo hires like former Trump people, which isn't necessarily that stupid because, I mean, Trump won. But like, if you adopt their like exact, not just like their marketing strategies, but also their messaging, obviously you're going to end up with bullshit like this. Hires former Trump staffers to run campaign. If I put that, let me see what comes up. Or not staffers. Let me see, like campaign managers to run campaign. I have to find, so I remember reading this somewhere, but we'll look into it a little bit more. But yeah, that's fucking insane. And we'll read the updates on how the New York Times looks at this after we get into it. But yeah, this is NYC debate for mayor. And I had this on as I was getting ready to go live, and like the entire chat, it was a lot of like Sliwa heads, a lot of people that were like, you know, Curtis Sliwa for fucking New York or whatever.
Good evening. Welcome to the final general election debate in the race for mayor of New York City. I'm Errol Lewis, political anchor here at Spectrum News New York 1, and we're coming to you live from the LaGuardia Performing Arts Center at LaGuardia Community College in Queens. Over the next 90 minutes, you're going to hear from the leading mayoral candidates about the biggest issues in New York, including the cost of living, the education crisis, and public safety. I'm joined tonight by Katie Honan of the news organization The City and Brian Lehrer of WNYC Radio and Gothamist.
Tonight's debate is brought to you by the New York City Campaign Finance Board, the city agency that administers...
They got a sick Batman reference already going on.
...the Public Matching Funds program. It's also sponsored by Spectrum News New York 1, WNYC Gothamist, and the news site The City, and Spectrum Noticias, and our co-sponsors, the Craig Newmark Graduate School of Journalism at CUNY, the Center for New York City and State Law at New York Law School, the Museum of the City of New York, and John Jay College of Criminal Justice. You can watch tonight's debate without a paywall on ny1.com. It is also being broadcast on NYC TV, WNYC Radio, C-SPAN, the Spectrum News YouTube page, and thecity.nyc. It's in Spanish on Spectrum Noticias and YouTube.
The candidates joining us tonight have met a fundraising threshold established by the Campaign Finance Board. The seat is currently held by Eric Adams, who has decided not to run for re-election. In alphabetical order, Andrew Cuomo is a former governor of New York running on an independent line. Zohran Mamdani is the Democratic nominee, representing parts of Queens in the state assembly since 2021. And Curtis Sliwa is the Republican nominee and the founder of the Guardian Angels.
Now for the rules.
He did that.
The rules you see on your screen right now have been agreed to by all of the candidates. Each candidate will deliver an opening statement of up to 45 seconds, and then answers to our questions will generally be limited to 60 seconds with a chance for rebuttals.
Cuomo looks so sad all the time. I think he's genuinely annoyed that he actually has to make an argument to voters as to why he should be elected and not just crowned in this position. I really do think that he saw this as like a stepping stone, and that it would be very, very easy for him to not only capture the Democratic nomination, but also just like sail to the general and like win with flying colors. And he cannot believe that there's actually people that don't want to just give him this fucking position. And it seems just like so contemptuous of the fact that he has to participate in this bullshit, and it matters.
Candidates will have an opportunity to ask one opponent one question in our cross-examination round. So let's begin. This will be the last time all three candidates will be together on stage. The next mayor will be sworn into office 71 days from now on January 1st, 2026. He will inherit...
I don't think that assessment of Cuomo is wrong at all. Actually, I've never made an incorrect assessment on my stream ever, so that's just normal business as usual for the Straighterade stream.
City with an affordability crisis, a tense relationship with the federal government, and millions of New Yorkers who very likely did not support...
Is New York political royalty, though? Yeah, okay, that's the other thing. That's the fucking other thing. At the end of this stupid fucking ad, he's like, he's never had a job or whatever. Dude, you're a Nepo baby. The reason why you're fucking relevant in New York City politics is because your fucking father and him giving you positions early on in your career that you didn't fucking deserve. I can't believe Zohran doesn't hit him with that shit every time he tries to bring it up.
Let's begin our debate with your opening statements to viewers. You have 45 seconds. The order was determined by a random drawing on live television this morning, and we'll begin with Curtis Sliwa. Good evening.
Thank you. It's us versus them. It's us versus the insiders and the billionaires. Okay. It's us versus Cuomo. It's us versus Zohran. This is a campaign not about power. This is a campaign about you, the people. And I know many of you hardworking New Yorkers, you tell...
This is a Republican, by the way.
You've been pushed aside, you've been silenced.
Who, like, in the previous election was talking about how we need, like, to privatize education and encourage, like, charter schools, how he wants to expand the NYPD, how there needs to be tax cuts and that you can't tax the wealthy or increase the minimum wage. But he's going to open his opening pitch is, it's the 1% versus the 99%. Okay, dude?
These are the people that have all the money, all the connections. They've made their backroom deals, but we have something more important. We have you, the people. And we're not going to be silenced anymore. We're going to fight. Tonight, I want you to look at the content of my policies, to know that I've served this city for more than 50 years, the city that I love. And I'm going to share with you my vision to make New York City safer again, to make New York City more affordable again, and where everybody once again can live the American dream.
Thank you. Next is Andrew Cuomo.
He's going to do it. He's going to do the damn thing. He's going to make NYC affordable.
Thank you. Good evening. New York's first, thank you to the moderators. Thank you all for being here. And go Knicks, go Knicks, go Knicks. I hope we get an update on the score. New York is the greatest.
What are we doing here, Andrew? In your last answer, you were asked, like, if there was a World Series and also this other sports game going on, and you could only, and like New York's teams or New York City's teams are like competing in both on the same day at the same time, which one do you attend? And he was like, half and half. So now we're just coming out as like a partisan Knicks fan? What is this? What is this?
City on the globe. But we are at a pivotal moment. And the voters are going to have to decide in this election what candidate has the plan to save
Is this a new one? Yeah, it's the second one and it's the last one. This is the final debate before the general.
City, and what candidate can get it done, not just talk about it. My main opponent has no new ideas. He has no new plan. It's Bill de Blasio rehash, and we know how that turned out. He's never run anything, managed anything. He's never had a real job. I will hire 5,000 new police, build 500,000 new units. I will cut taxes. I will grow jobs, and I will end.
What he just outlined literally sounds like what Curtis Sliwa is promising. Again, it cannot be understated how in the first debate, what I was listening for is like, how similar to Zohran does he seem? Is he trying to like mimic his policies at all? Or does he sound more similar to Sliwa? He sounded like a light version of Sliwa on almost every single fucking issue, with the exception of like bail reform or something like that. That was where he outflanked him a little bit. But like every other issue, they're pretty much on the same page. The only difference is a matter of scale.
And this hate mongering and division.
And without cats. That's true.
That is tearing this city apart, because that's not who we are as New Yorkers. You know I can make change. You know I can make government work. I've done it before. I'll be ready on day one.
Okay, thank you. Next is Zohran Mamdani.
Yeah, dude, we all know what you do when you get in office. That's kind of the issue. You're a fucking sex pest, and you also use taxpayer dollars to defend yourself from those accusations, which you now say are all political and bullshit. And I don't think people are interested in that. I don't think they want a governor or like a fucking mayor whose most notable accomplishment when he was governor is not only sexually harassing a bunch of women that worked for him because he couldn't get women to fuck him, but also be like a dude who had to like fudge numbers with respect to deaths from like nursing homes because of an error that he made.
Good evening. Thank you to the moderators, and thank you to New Yorkers for tuning in. I know you'd rather be watching the Knicks. While there are 3 candidates on this stage, you will hear only 2 messages. My opponents, who spend more time trying to convince the other to drop out than actually proposing their own policies, will speak only of the past, because that's all that they know. I am the sole candidate running with a vision for the future of this city. Andrew Cuomo will spend much of tonight attacking me. He is a desperate man, lashing out because he knows that the one thing he's always cared about, power, is now slipping away from him. He will amplify right-wing talking points, he will share conspiracy theories, and he will do these things to make you feel that this should keep you up at night.
And if he only knew that he will also post incredibly racist AI ads in the middle of this debate, he could have brought that up as well.
But I've been spending the last year listening to New Yorkers, and I know what actually keeps you up. It's whether or not you can afford to live a safe and dignified life in this city. I have plans for our future. My opponents only have fear.
Thank you very much, candidates. Let's start tonight with some breaking news that happened yesterday afternoon when federal agents descended on Canal Street, arresting street vendors who have been selling counterfeit designer merchandise for as long as any of us can remember. This is the first time we've seen major federal law enforcement activity in this.
I didn't even know that. Can't they just let people live? Damn.
City outside of arrests at immigration court in Lower Manhattan. And some critics are now ringing an alarm bell, calling it a dangerous and unprecedented use of federal agents in New York City. Others say that the vendors were a major quality of life problem in the neighborhood that the NYPD had ignored. So the candidate, I'll ask each of you to respond to this.
Can we just let these fucking people sell their like fake Louis in peace? I don't understand what the issue is. If it's like a matter of getting like if there is like drug dealers and stuff like that, then I'm less surprised by it. But if they're going after people that are like making like fake Gucci flip-flops, who gives a fuck, dude? How is this a priority?
How should the...
You didn't see the video of them storming the street vendor? No, I haven't really been online today.
Mayor and the NYPD have handled both the presence of the street vendors and then the federal action. We'll start with you, Mr. Cuomo.
I've had a lot of dealings with President Trump. And there's only one way to deal with him. He puts his finger in your chest, and you have to put your finger right back in his chest. I've actually had this situation with ICE interfering in New York before. It was upstate New York where ICE just showed up and started to take action. And I called the president and I went down to the White House and I said, that doesn't work in New York. You don't send ICE in without coordinating with our police. It's not smart, it's duplicative, and it's dangerous. We don't need ICE to do quality of life crimes. We don't need them to worry about illegal vendors. That's a basic policing function for NYPD.
So as New York City mayor, I promise to be the one that will be disrupting these fucking street vendors, and I will be arresting them. Leave it to me. Awesome.
Consumer affairs, etc. I would have called the president and I would have said, look, you're way out of bounds. They're way out of bounds. Call them back or I'm going to have the NYPD step in and stop them because this is not their jurisdiction. You're in the city of New York.
Okay. Mr. Mamdani.
ICE is a reckless entity that cares little for the law and even less for the people.
I mean, I would need to look into it and the fucking, like, the codes for New York City. Is it really something that's worthy of an arrest? And not just, like, if you're selling counterfeit bags or products or you don't have, like, a proper license to be doing this shit, is it really punishable by jail, typically? Isn't it, like, a thing that you would get, like, slapped with a fine?
People that they're supposed to serve. What we need to be doing here in our city.
No, it's not. It just seems so excessive. That doesn't even seem like the most effective way to like discourage that sort of behavior.
is to end the chapter of collaboration between City Hall and the federal government, which we've seen under Mayor Adams. What we need to do is actually pass the street vending reform bills that have been in the city council, some of which that this mayor has actually overridden. That's an example of how we can both protect street vendors, ensure quality of life, and leave no stone unturned in delivering for the people of this city, as opposed to working with a president who is looking to declare war on those same people.
Mrs. Sliwa.
Unlike both of my adversaries, I've patrolled that area many times, Church and Canal. And as you said, Errol, that activity has been going on for a long time. Selling the knockoff, sometimes stolen contraband by a series of people. The local 5th Precinct, they make arrests when they have obviously cause to do so. And they complain that they have to release them because of no cash bail, of which both of my adversaries are in favor of and I'm not. The feds should not have stepped into this situation. There is not communication between the local authorities and the feds.
For anybody that was Sliwa curious, he is going to be here to remind you that at the end of the day, even if he is an anti-Trump Republican, he is still a Republican. So like these are the types of things that he is going to see as like a negative thing. Like, yeah, God forbid that there be fucking bail reform in New York City.
This is a matter that should have been left up to the NYPD. But
I think copyright is something dealt with at the federal level. It is, but I don't know that the reason, even if it was handled by NYPD for picking up those sorts of vendors or for issuing any sort of citation, would be because they're selling counterfeit goods. It usually doesn't have to do with the fact that it's like, I don't know that it's like infringement.
We can't tolerate citizens attacking our federal law enforcement forces in the street because then that will just lead to anarchy.
Bill reform just ends up being just let them all go, though. Grant Withers, I don't think you understand how bail reform works, because no, the fuck, it does not mean that.
Let me ask a related question. President Trump has been commenting on this race and all of you on a regular basis. He's been less than glowing when talking about each of you, especially you, Mr. Mamdani. I'd like you each to describe whatever combination of defiance, diplomacy, and cooperation you will use as mayor if President Trump continues to increase the federal government's role in the affairs of our city while also threatening to decrease funding. Start with you this time, Mr. Sliwa.
Well, my adversaries have decided to bump chests with President Trump to prove who's more macho. You can't beat Trump. He holds most of the cards. He's already cut federal funding for Medicaid, for the SNAP program, and is threatening to cut funds for NYCHA.
Okay, so Sliwa's already like, no. There's only appeasement and collaboration with Trump. It's that dark. There's no way forward. You cannot oppose this man. You can only try to work with him.
You're all of a sudden going to get adversarial. You're going to lose. And who gets hurt? The people of New York City. With Trump, it's always the art of the deal. You have to go.
I was going to say he's going to be like, you got to make deals.
To try to negotiate, whether it's with his minions or himself. He'll want you to give in order to get a little bit. But if you immediately act like you're going to take him on, like, it's going to be a one-on-one fight, we're going to lose. All the people in New York City are going to lose. You have to be able to show respect. And I think if you show respect, you'll get respect, and you'll protect the New Yorkers who are so desperately in need of federal funds. What's the good of it? They'll bump chests with Donald Trump. They won't get the money, and then they'll blame Donald Trump. I will negotiate with Donald Trump and try to get the best deal possible for our poor and indigent citizens.
Okay, Mr. Cuomo.
Yeah, the difference on this question is I've actually lived it, and I've done it with President Trump over many years through the most difficult situation that this country has gone through, COVID plus. You're wrong. You're going to have to confront President Trump. He is hyper-aggressive, and he is going to overstep his bounds. And you are going to have to confront him. And you can beat him. I confronted him, and I have beaten him. He was going to...
Okay, but now you're like taking money from the same people that funded his re-election campaign in 2024. So don't you think that there's like a conflict of interest there already, for one? And for two, it's like he's signaled behind closed doors with his donors that he intends to be like that a Trump bump could potentially help him. So, yeah, he takes a rhetorical posture that is inoffensive here. Yeah, you can stand up to Trump. It's not all, it's not predetermined that you just have to give in or whatever, and that you're not, you would lose fights and stuff like that. Because, again, there is a lot of power at the state level, especially when we're talking about New York City in particular. Outline the Constitution. Not that the Trump administration gives a fuck about the Constitution, but he doesn't have the ability to do this. And to the extent that he did, he no longer can. He's that compromised of a fucking candidate.
quarantine New York during COVID, and I stopped him. He was going to cut aid to federal programs, and I stopped him. But you also want to be in a place where you can cooperate on good things, because we need federal help if we're going to save our city and rebuild our city. President Trump has to respect you. He sent
this is what it was. I knew I had it in my doc. Cuomo seeking a Trump bump. This was reported August 19th of this year. Andrew Cuomo is counting on President Donald Trump and top Republicans to tell oh my God. I love journalism in America in 2025. Okay. But not as much as I love removepaywall.com. Okay, there we go. Andrew Cuomo is counting on President Donald Trump and top Republicans to tell the party faithful to vote for Cuomo for mayor if they want to stop Zohran Mamdani and not to vote for GOP nominee Curtis Sliwa. We can minimize the Sliwa vote because he'll never be a serious candidate. Cuomo told, and then Sliwa slander behind closed doors, very unbecoming. Cuomo told the crowd at a Hamptons fundraiser Saturday, according to audio obtained by Playbook. And Trump himself, as well as top Republicans, will say the goal is to stop Mamdani, and you'll be wasting your vote on Sliwa. So I feel good about that. Publicly, Cuomo has shunned the idea of getting any help from Trump. Not only that, he's also said that I'm going to oppose him. I've done it before. I can do it again. Cuomo said he declined an endorsement and denied a New York Times report that he'd spoken with the president about the race. I had forgotten about this. Trump weighs getting involved in New York City mayor's race. What did Cuomo say to him? In a previously undisclosed call in recent weeks, Mr. Trump spoke about the race directly with Mr. Cuomo, an old associate and foil, according to 3 people briefed on the call who were not authorized to discuss it. Yeah, okay, they're lying, surely. I guess that's Cuomo's answer. Where are we? But Cuomo seemed hopeful for the president's help behind closed doors, speaking to the more Trump-friendly crowd gathered at media mogul Jimmy Finkelstein's house in Southampton. Another co-host, former New York City Council President Andrew Stein, briefed Trump last month on how Cuomo would be competitive in the general, according to the Times. An attendee asked Cuomo directly if he or his team was in conversation with the White House about how Trump might influence the race. Cuomo didn't directly deny it this time. Let's put it this way. I knew the president very well, Cuomo said. I believe there's a big piece of him that actually wants redemption in New York. He feels that he was rejected by New York. We voted for Hillary Clinton. Bill de Blasio took his name off things. So I believe there will be opportunities to actually cooperate with him. I also believe he's not going to want to fight with me in New York if he can avoid it. So what was that again, Andrew?
The national, he was going to have to confront. You're wrong. You're going to have to confront President Trump. He is hyper aggressive, and he is going to overstep his bounds. And you are going to have to.
Okay, so we're doing the thing where we tell donors one thing, and then we tell voters another thing. We lie to the voters. Got it.
Confront him, and you can beat him. I confronted him, and I have beaten him. He was going to quarantine New York during COVID, and I stopped him. He was going to cut aid to federal programs, and I stopped him. But you also want to be in a place where you can cooperate on good things, because we need federal help if we're going to save our city and rebuild our city.
Oh, no, okay, he does come out and say it. You got to cooperate on the good things, okay? At least he's being honest. So he's going to, just complete double speak. In the first part of that sentence, we're going to emphasize how you got to oppose Trump to beat him. He knows not to fuck with me. But then in the other half, we're going to talk about, well, except where you can help with the federal government can help. But again, what is Trump promising to do here? He wants to deploy ICE to New York City.
President Trump has to respect you. He sent the National Guard into 20 cities. City he didn't send it into? New York. Because I talked to him and I said, we don't need you here. He has said he'll take over New York if Mamdani wins, and he will, because he has no respect for him. He thinks he's a kid and he's going to knock him on his tuchus. So it is a balance, but you're going to have to be adversarial when you need to, but you want to cooperate to get good things done in this city, and you need federal help.
Mamdani.
We first just heard from the Republican candidate for mayor, and then we heard from Donald Trump's puppet himself, Andrew Cuomo. You could turn on TV any day of the week, and you will hear Donald Trump share that his pick for mayor is Andrew Cuomo. And he wants Andrew Cuomo to be the mayor, not because it will be good for New Yorkers, but because it will be good for him. Look, Donald Trump ran on 3 promises. He ran on creating the single largest deportation force in American history, he ran on going after his political enemies, and he ran on lowering the cost of living. If he wants to talk to me about the 3rd piece of that agenda, I will always be ready and willing. But if he wants to talk about how to pursue the 1st and 2nd piece of that agenda at the expense of New Yorkers, I will fight him every single step of the way.
Okay. Short rebuttal from Mr. Cuomo.
That's not what Donald Trump said. Donald Trump does an analysis of the race. Donald Trump, I believe, wants Mamdani. That is his dream because
he should have brought up, like, there's been direct communication.
He will use him politically all across the country, and he will take over New York City. Make no mistake. It will be President Trump and Mayor Trump.
Again, reported by the New York Times. They were the first person to report that. The New York Times is not in the tank for Zohran Mamdani. They literally said he's not prepared to run the city of fucking New York. It's the closest that they were ever going to get to endorsing Cuomo over him. So you can't argue that reporting from the New York Times, one, it's the paper of records, the fucking New York Times. It's a reliable outlet. But 2, you can't even say, oh, well, they're biased.
And he will come in and take over the city. I have no doubt. All he said was, his analysis is after the polls, it's a tough choice between a Democrat and a communist. And he considers Mamdani a communist. He happens to be a socialist. But between a communist and a Democrat, it's a tough choice for him.
Okay. All right. Thank you, candidates. Brian wants to talk to you about some important issues on the minds of New Yorkers.
Hi, candidates. Thank you for coming tonight. And the cost of living is our next topic. You've all cited it as a major factor, and of course so many New Yorkers are experiencing this, especially when it comes to rising housing costs. And many New Yorkers were shocked this week as a new report from the group Advocates for Children revealed that about 154,000 New York City public school students have been homeless at some point during the last year. 65,000 lived in homeless shelters. Even more were in doubled-up situations with no home of their own. It's never been over 150,000 before, they tell us, and it amounts to 1 in 7 New York City kids. As mayor, how would each of you tackle this problem to help this vulnerable population? And in this round, we're going to go Mr. Mamdani, Mr. Cuomo, Mr. Sliwa. So Mr. Mamdani, you go first.
This is a stain on our city. To see this many children in our public school system be homeless, and to know that this is the 9th consecutive year that it's more than 100,000 of those children. What we need to do is ensure that next year is not the same, and we are going to do that by building the housing necessary such that New Yorkers are not priced out of this city or forced to live in shelters. And that's why my campaign is going to deliver 200,000 new affordable homes across the 5 boroughs, all while freezing the rent for more than 2 million rent-stabilized tenants. Now, in the public school system, we also have a program called Every Child and Family is Known. It links a child who is living in a homeless shelter with an employee of the public school system. It also links that employee with the child's family. It's been shown to increase attendance records, self-esteem, a level of belonging in that school system. I am going to increase that pilot program to more than 200 schools, and we're going to do it because we have to deliver for these children.
Mr. Cuomo. Zohran is a great actor. He missed his calling. Freeze the rent sounds great. Yeah, it affects about 25% of the number of housing units in the city of New York.
Okay, speaking of Bill de Blasio, that is a thing Bill de Blasio already did.
It's not a new idea.
It's not exactly. It's not new. It's not radical. They make it sound like this is unprecedented or whatever. I guess the extent to which it's unprecedented is that, yeah, Mamdani making it a centerpiece of his campaign is something that seems to be new for this race, but it's not something that's never been done.
Bill de Blasio did it. It turned out to be a debacle. And it does nothing for 75%.
I swear to God, I didn't pre-watch this.
Of the units.
I got a little bit of the end.
For the 25, it just postpones the increase and actually causes us to lose units because landlords took them off the market.
I'll jump in and ask you to address the homeless children question, and we will get to rent freeze.
Yeah, well, the answer to homeless children is you need more affordable housing. And I'm saying freeze the rent was done under de Blasio. It doesn't work. It's a canard and just a great 3-word slogan for TikTok. The way to increase availability of affordable housing is to build affordable housing. I was the HUD secretary. I did it all across the country. We have 1% vacancy rate. We're not building enough affordable housing, and you need
I guess he just tuned out the part where Zohran Mamdani was like, yeah, we also need to build a shit ton. That's why I'm also going to be doing that if I become mayor.
competent, productive government to do that, and that's what I've done across the country, across the state, make government work. You get the supply up, the rents will come down.
Thank you, Mr. Sliwa. Okay, Mr. Mamdani, you were named, so you get 30 seconds.
We are in the 9th consecutive year of more than 100,000 children in the New York City public school system being homeless. That means it began when Andrew Cuomo was the governor. And what did he do? What did he do about it? He did not do anything. He spent more money on a singing water fountain at LaGuardia Airport than he did on the average cost of an affordable housing unit. That is the record that we have in display, and what we need is a change in the city, not more of the same.
Yeah, bro, if I may.
And also, again, by the time he was governor, he had already been HUD secretary, so explain that.
The homeless issue, number of homeless since I left, has more than doubled during his administration and the state's administration. Since I left, homeless rate has more than doubled. When I left, the vacancy rate on housing was 4.5%. It's now 1%. This man never even proposed a bill on housing or education. Never even proposed a bill.
Keep going back and forth between the two of you. Mr. Sliwa, it's your turn.
Andrew, you didn't leave. You fled from being impeached by the Democrats in the state legislature. Leave.
You fled. Let that foolishness stand.
Let's get back on topic, because I'm the only candidate up here who's been into many of the over 300 Department of Homeless Services shelters, and the family shelters are unsafe for the families there. We have to make them safe.
He's the only one with 40 cats. He's the only one that's been shot in the back of a taxi cab. He's the only one whose life story could be a few episodes of The Wire, okay?
We have to bring teachers into the shelter. Many times, the mothers or the guardian have to get on bus after bus and take them to a school that's 2 or 2.5 hours away. This is a horror situation that's taking place. And we have to prioritize this, because this number of homeless children is going to grow. It takes 5 years to build affordable housing.
The only one that sounds like Elmer Fudd. Fuck, I'm not going to be able to unhear that.
We need to address it in the shelters itself to be able to handle it so that the teachers can come in, whether they're public school teachers, charter school teachers, and I know there are a number of parochial school teachers who love children who would volunteer their efforts to do that.
We're going to give it to Katie Honan now to ask about another aspect of affordable housing.
We're going to switch to the millions of New Yorkers who are renters, specifically those in rent-regulated apartments. There are more than 1 million New Yorkers living in these units, most of them rent-stabilized. Mr. Mamdani, you've proposed a rent freeze for these tenants. Mr. Cuomo, you don't support that, and you've proposed a new means test for having a rent-stabilized apartment.
Testing.
Mr. Mamdani,
Yay,
our question, how can you know in
that.
advance what the balance between landlord needs and tenant needs will be in future years? We've seen a lot of inflation in recent years. Haven't small landlords felt that pinch as well? And then we have other questions for the other candidates.
You know, we've seen time and again mayors use their power with the Rent Guidelines Board to hike the rent on those same more than 2 million New Yorkers. This same rent
Have you
guideline
seen Sliwa in his twink era? I have, and it was like, IDK how he's not the socialist candidate. Let me pull it up.
This board did a study that found that landlords of those units had seen their profits increase by more than 12%. Their response, hike the rent on rent-stabilized tenants who have a median household income of $60,000. I believe that tenants across our city deserve relief, and I also believe that city government can work to alleviate the pressures for landlords of those units without having to put that burden on those same tenants. It's possible to keep New Yorkers in this city and to help landlords with rising insurance costs, water bills, Con Edison, and a broken property tax system.
Thank you,
Possible to help landlords from Mr. Mamdani here. He just lost the radical left.
Sliwa, what's your proposal for helping New Yorkers with the historically high rent burdens in either stabilized or market rate units?
Well, the first thing, we have 6,000 empty apartments in NYCHA. That is a sin. That's what the mayor can control right away. We need to move those families with children in. For those who live in rent-stabilized apartments and have their rent subsidized, Zohran Mamdani, we need to make sure that the big realtors...
That's a dirty move from Curtis here. Throwing in with Cuomo's attack there.
That they have to pay a vacancy tax because they're holding off on those apartments. They're not putting them out into the marketplace because they want to flip the building. Not for the mid-sized landlords or the small landlords. They need the help.
Well, someone
and there are a
please
number of
think
people
of
in
the
the outer
landlords.
boroughs. They own a home.
Please.
They live on the property. They're not absentee landlords. 2, 3, 4 apartments, and they're deciding not to put them in the marketplace when somebody either leaves or dies because they have to deal with tenant-landlord court, which is an absolute nightmare for small landlords. We got to make sure it's a fair
Thanks
playing field so that the tenants are protected, but the landlords are protected, so they're not stuck with squatters for 4, 5, or 6 years, which destroys their equity and forces them to leave.
Thank you. Mr. Cuomo, you signed a law in 2019 repealing a means test to live in a rent-stabilized apartment. What's your position now, and what changed in that?
What changed is that I had the opportunity to create a policy surrounding attacking my political opponent, and I didn't really think through the implications of what it would mean. I just thought it would be awesome, an awesome PR stunt, so I could have Mamdani's law up on my campaign promises website and in some headlines.
19 law was added tenant protections that had never been added before, and protections against tenant evictions. But to answer your question, you cannot, Zohran said, the tenant doesn't have to pay more rent, but we're going to cover the landlord's costs. No, you can't do both, and that's not what happened. We did freeze the rent with de Blasio. We lost units because the landlords took them off the market because you weren't covering their costs. The reason the Rent Guidelines Board went up after the freeze was because you had a...
Okay, I couldn't find the Twitter post, but I did find it. This looks like it's from a movie or something. Like Young Curtis. Young spelled N-Y-U-N-G, obviously. Or not N-Y, just Y-U-N-D, sorry.
To make up for all the backlog of costs. And this, I'm going to freeze the rent. People think it applies to all of them. No, just the 25% of units that are rent stabilized. And by the way, it's all BS because the mayor doesn't have the power to do it anyway. The Rent Guidelines Board does, and he doesn't control the Rent Guidelines Board. So nothing is going to happen. It's all this. It's just more political blather.
Mr. Mamdani, you can respond.
You know, if you want a candidate for mayor who tells you everything that he cannot do, then Andrew Cuomo should be your choice. If you want a candidate for mayor who will use every tool at their disposal.
I mean, it's true. So much of his campaign is like, I will not be doing this. I will not be doing that. Under me, like, I'm not going to do anything to address your rent, or he says that this is how it's going to be. But it's just him constantly trying to dampen and manage people's expectations.
Including the 9 appointees at the Rent Guidelines Board, all of whom are appointed by the mayor, then I am the candidate for you.
We have to go to Errol, sir. I'm sorry, you weren't named, so I'm sorry. We're going to go to Errol, talk about development.
My name was invoked. Can I get the rebuttal? Quickly. Okay, quickly. The mayor doesn't appoint the Rent Guidelines Board. He's wrong. They are appointed to a term, and they're on holdovers. And when the term is over, you can appoint. But it takes a number of years to get control.
Okay, understood. Candidates, right now we are just blocks away from the site of the Long Island City rezoning plan, which has been under consideration for a decade at this point, and in its latest version would create 15,000 new apartments. That plan, like the recently passed City of Yes 5-borough rezoning, reflect a reality that hundreds of thousands of units, as many as 1 million new units, will be needed in New York City over the next 10 years. What is your plan to get new units built quickly? And the order of this will be Mr. Cuomo, then Mr. Sliwa, then Mr. Mamdani.
Yeah, Sliwa said before it takes 5 years to build affordable housing. No, it doesn't. No, it shouldn't. That's an incompetent government. You can actually get competent government and well-managed government. I built LaGuardia Airport, even though he doesn't like it, in 4 years, okay? So don't tell me it takes 5 years to build a housing unit. You have to redo HPD. You have to change the entire organizational structure. You have the zoning, but you have to start hundreds, if not thousands, of sites simultaneously. Private sector developers, partner with not-for-profits, partner with CDCs, use city-owned sites, use air rights, make a deal with the unions. But this has to be the #1 priority. The way I did 2nd Avenue Subway or the Mayoral Cuomo Bridge or the Kosciuszko Bridge, this project is thousands of housing developments being accelerated, expedited, facilitated at one time. And we need 500,000 units. That's the way you're going to make New York City affordable and still allow the talent to come here.
Okay, Mr. Sliwa.
I'm the only candidate here on the stage who is opposed to the City of Yes. Both my adversaries are for it. Make sure on Election Day when you turn over your ballot and you have the initiatives, you vote no. And you know how oftentimes I've been accused, how are you going to work with the Democratic-controlled City Council? Adrian Adams, and the predominant...
What is the City of Yes thing? Hold on. This is according to nyc.gov. City of Yes for Housing Opportunity. City of Yes for is a zoning text amendment that addresses NYC's housing crisis by making it possible to build a little more housing in every neighborhood. For decades, New York City hasn't built enough housing because of overly restrictive zoning rules. Meanwhile, the housing that has been built is concentrated in just a few areas. As a result, there aren't enough homes for New Yorkers to live in. Many neighborhoods are closed off to housing opportunities, and the cost of housing keeps rising. City of Yes for Housing Opportunity is a zoning text amendment that addresses this crisis by making it possible to build a little bit more in every neighborhood. These updated zoning rules will provide New Yorkers more housing choice and help bring housing costs down. By allowing a little more housing in every neighborhood, we will create a lot of housing overall without overburdening any one area. So Curtis hears this and he's like, fuck no.
Democrats, including many of them very liberal and progressive, believe no to yes. I have a simple plan. It takes a year. We have 25 Empire State buildings that would be empty and just have office space that'll never be used because business doesn't operate the way it used to. Retrofit them to affordable apartments. Most are in Manhattan. The infrastructure.
I've heard about these types of plans, but I've never looked into one, if it's cost effective, and two, I've never heard somebody talking about converting them to be apartments. I've heard them being converted for like homeless shelters, not for, and that would are like or temporary housing for like homeless individuals. I've not heard it for it to be intended to be like permanent housing.
Is there. You set up a partnership with developers. It'll put men and women to work, and you'll get your affordable apartments a lot quicker and not be a burden to the outer boroughs and the residential communities because you're in the back pockets, Andrew, of the developers who wine-dined and pocket-lined you.
Let me ask you a follow-up on that, Mr. Sliwa. Do you think each elected city council member should have basically veto power over whether or not housing gets built in their district?
Absolutely. Local control. Community boards should have their say. What happened to zoning? We throw it out. Eric Adams, this...
It's like, do they have their say? They have no problem getting their point across. Those are the voices that are listened to. When fucking landlords in New York City whine, the New York City municipal government fucking listens. It's not an issue.
City of Yes is on steroids, and he went wild taking care of his developer friends as he knew he would be one and done. I told you he was corrupt. I told you there would be chaos, and I warned you in 2021. You should have elected me mayor then.
Okay. Mr. Mamdani.
We need to build more housing all across New York City. Today, New York City builds about 4 houses for 1,000 people. Jersey City's at 7. Tokyo is at about 10. We need to do this by streamlining the processes of private sector construction across the city, by ensuring we're building more around hubs of mass transit. And we also need to ensure that the public sector is building truly affordable housing. And what I mean by truly affordable is housing that is built with the median household income in mind, which is $70,000 for a family of 4. And that's why my administration will do exactly that, scaling up programs we already had in HPD, like senior affordable rental apartments, SARA, like Ella, extremely low-level affordability. These are the kinds of programs that will deliver a city that New Yorkers can actually afford.
There was reference to the 3 housing-related charter amendment questions. I know Mr. Cuomo is on the record as saying he favors them. We just heard Mr. Sliwa say that he's against them. Where do you stand on those?
I'm appreciative that those measures will be on the ballot and that New Yorkers will be able to cast their votes for them. I know that we desperately need to build more housing in the city, and I also know that the jobs we create in the building of that housing should be good jobs as well.
What a political answer. What is your opinion, Zohran?
Yes or no?
Come on.
Yes or no?
What is your opinion? Yes or no, Zohran? Don't be a politician here.
I got it. They're pointing out what I was about to.
Oh my God, he's getting double teamed.
I think on the stage you can see 2 people appealing for the Republican Party's votes.
Answer the question.
You should answer this. It doesn't look good that he doesn't have an answer for the amendments.
Answer the question for once.
My question to you was, do you support the 3 ballot amendment questions?
I have not yet taken a position on those ballot amendment questions.
Oh, what a shocker.
All right.
What a shocker.
Don't
worry, once he takes it, he'll change it anyway.
We're going to move it on. We're going to move on. The candidates, the rhetoric on the campaign trail has become more heated in recent weeks. We have reached a point where 2 of the candidates on stage here tonight have armed security. I would like to spend a few minutes to see if we can dial down the rhetoric. Mr. Mamdani, some Jewish New Yorkers continue to say that your comments on Israel and the war in Gaza leave them feeling unsafe and concerned.
So this is from the city.nyc. Mamdani so mum on housing ballot measures as council steps up opposition. This was reported October 17th of this year. Democratic mayoral nominee Zohran Mamdani listened to labor union members Friday at a gathering hosted at building workers headquarters. That union has been campaigning for Mamdani, but against 3 items on the back of the ballot that would fast-track some housing development approvals. Yet Mamdani has still not said yet, with early voting starting in just over a week, how he will vote on those measures. The Election Day ballot proposals put forth by a commission convened by departing Mayor Eric Adams would change the city charter to streamline approvals for affordable housing and in many cases bypass the city council, which has used its voting power to kill some projects, but also to extract community benefits, including labor agreements. Oh, okay, so maybe I got some more reading to do on the like City of Yes type shit. Because if it's going to like kill this or whatever, then yeah, I wouldn't be surprised that he hasn't taken a position. Meanwhile, his rivals Andrew Cuomo and Curtis Sliwa have taken definitive stances, with Cuomo saying he will support all 3, Sliwa opposing them. Mamdani didn't address the ballot items at an event where workers focus on concerns about wages, benefits, and challenges affording life in New York City. But afterward, Mamdani campaign spokesperson Dora Pikek said Mamdani is still undecided on the proposals and did not elaborate on whether he is still discussing the matter with labor unions or other stakeholders. I'm continuing to have those conversations, he told a reporter during a press conference earlier this month. What I can say is that I'm appreciative of the fact that it's on the ballot and that New Yorkers will have a chance to weigh in. Last week, leaders of 32BJ and the Hotel and Gaming Trades Council, both of which have endorsed Mamdani and the General, joined city council leaders to proclaim their fierce opposition to the proposals, stressing that they would weaken workers' hands in reaching labor agreements with developers. So did the District Council of Carpenters, which endorsed Cuomo in the primary but has not made a decision for the General. State election records show the hotel union recently spent $800,000 for TV ads supporting Mamdani. How to fill in bubbles on the back of his ballot is a fraught decision for Mamdani, who has an ambitious agenda to construct 200,000 units of union-built affordable housing and would gain important power as mayor to fulfill that agenda if the ballot measures pass. But Mamdani is not only counting on the union support to help get elected. If he wins, he will need city council to help him govern. Current City Council Speaker Adrienne Adams led last week's rally against the ballot measures, and among the members joining her was Brooklyn's Crystal Hudson, a contender in the closed-door race to succeed Adams, who is term limited at the end of this year. Council is using public funds to stage a website and distributed mailers warning New Yorkers that their power could be taken away by Mayor Adams' misleading ballot proposals and claiming that they would lead to less investment, less affordability, and more gentrification. The ballot items are a rare issue that has united council members across the political spectrum. A judge this week dismissed the lawsuit brought by conservative members in the Common Sense Caucus who sought to toss the 3 housing ballot items, a decision the lawmakers are now appealing. So interesting.
Concerned about their future in our city. Recently, several prominent New York rabbis took the unusual step
So
up
he
to
doesn't
now.
have anything to say about those ballot measures when voting starts in a couple of days. I guess he's made the decision that like taking a position would actually tank his numbers or whatever, because he's not trying to alienate unions and he's also not trying to alienate New Yorkers, that because it seems to be polarizing and controversial, and more abundance-pilled Dems that are probably voting for him.
Announcing your candidacy, including the rabbi of the Park Avenue Synagogue in Manhattan and Rabbi Michael Miller, the longtime leader of the Jewish Community Relations Council, who is a friend to many of us. Do you have any regrets about how you've dealt with these issues? And will your longstanding views on the subject get in the way of your ability to be an effective mayor?
I look forward to being a mayor.
Mr. Mamdani, why do you hate Jewish New Yorkers?
For every single person that calls this city home. Not just those who voted for me in the Democratic primary, not just those that vote for me in this general election, but all 8.5 million New Yorkers. And that includes Jewish New Yorkers who may have concerns or opposition to the positions that I've shared about Israel and Palestine. Just a few weeks ago, I was on the M57, the slowest bus in New York City. And as I was seated there was a speech therapist who was sitting next to me. She told me that she was Jewish. She said that her daughter was a huge fan, but that she was not yet decided on who she was going to vote for. And she shared to me about her fears in this city, about rising anti-Semitism. And I told her what I will tell New Yorkers today, which is that I will be the mayor who doesn't just protect Jewish New Yorkers, but also celebrates and cherishes them, who doesn't just increase funding to hate crime prevention programs by 800%, who doesn't just ensure that the NYPD are outside of synagogues and temples on the high holy days, but also actually delivers on the implementation of the Hidden Voices curriculum in our school system so that children in this city learn about the beauty and the breadth of the Jewish experience right here in the 5 boroughs.
Okay, I've got a different...
Yeah, but can I just comment on that, please?
He still has not condemned Hassan Piker. He has still not condemned Collargate. He has still not said #FreeKaya.
Not everything is a TikTok video. You're the savior of the Jewish people. You won't denounce globalize the intifada, which means kill Jews. There's unprecedented fear in New York.
I guess he got someone saying you need to drop the Hassan Piker shit. Just chill, dude.
It was not several rabbis, Errol. It was 650 rabbis who signed the letter, not several.
let me ask you a related question, Mr. Cuomo. Many New Yorkers have serious grievances with Israel in the way the Israeli government under Benjamin Netanyahu has conducted the war in Gaza and expanded settlements in the West Bank. What would you say to and how would you handle New Yorkers who are in the streets, if you were mayor, protesting the actions of the Netanyahu government?
Fine. That's your right. Protest, demonstrate, disagree. God bless America. God bless New York City. And there is no doubt
You certainly do have the right to voice your disagreement.
that there's two sides on what's going on and the passions are very high. That doesn't justify anti-Semitic behavior in New York. It doesn't justify having a Jewish population that feels unprotected in New York. It doesn't justify leaders who stoke the flames of hatred against Jewish people, which is what Zohran does, in my opinion.
I'll give him a chance to answer, and then we'll go to Mr. Sliwa.
Cuomo really cares about cutting down anti-Semitism when he doesn't get badgered about it, but he doesn't get badgered constantly about it. The thing is that, like, he had the opportunity to just outright call Zohran Mamdani an anti-Semite, and he declined. He did this pathetic fence-sitting bullshit of like, well, people that support me think he's anti-Semitic, but he personally wouldn't take a position on it, which is so fucking toothless. Like, just say it with your chest. You've already said, you've heavily implied that he is. You've said that anti-Zionism is anti-Semitism, and Zohran Mamdani has aligned himself closer to anti-Zionism. I don't know formally, but obviously his beliefs, right? So why not just go all the way?
I've heard from
Jewish people, a majority of which support Mamdani, right? That's the other thing that he'll never like that they won't bring up.
New Yorkers about their fears about anti-Semitism in this city. And what they deserve is a leader who takes it seriously, who roots it out of these 5 boroughs, not one who weaponizes it as a means by which to score political points on a debate stage.
Mr. Sliwa.
Excuse me, Mr. Cuomo, it's my turn, all right?
Yeah, shut the fuck up, Cuomo. Sliwa speaking.
Yeah, I heard you on the radio this morning.
Zohran, this is personal for me. I know you are under threat. The mother of my 2 youngest sons who are raised Jewish, Melinda Katz, is prosecuting this person who came up and tried to do you harm. But let me speak on behalf of my 2 sons. When they've heard some of the statements you've made, like in support of global jihad, and I hear some people out there saying the Jews, their time is due, which means the same thing.
What the fuck are you talking about, dude?
Frightened, they're scared. They view you as the
this is probably the most racist shit that Sliwa said. I don't know what he's talking about like Zohran Mamdani saying he's fine with the global jihad. What?
Who fan the flames of anti-Semitism. They cannot suddenly accept the fact that you're coming in like a firefighter and you're going to put out these flames. You've got a lot of explaining to do, a lot of apologizing to do. My sons are afraid. Their family, their friends, many in the Jewish community are concerned if you become mayor because they don't think.
You know what's funny is that he said that he wouldn't hit him from this angle earlier in the campaign, and now he's throwing in with Cuomo and doing it, trying to say that, like, oh, he's an anti-Semite or whatever. He had said earlier, like, explicitly he had no interest in doing that. Now he's just going for it.
Anti-Semitism rears its ugly head, which it's now doing more than ever before. That you will have the ability to come in and put out those flames of hate.
Okay, yeah, you can.
I think there's Sliwa on SNL. Do you mean from the main cast or just in general? Like, first person that comes to mind is like De Niro, but I should probably keep thinking.
There is room for disagreement on many positions and many policies, but I also want to correct the record. I have never, not once, spoken in support of global jihad. That is not something that I have said, and that continues to be ascribed to me, and frankly, I think much of it...
This is what I was looking at the other day. This is where he said, okay, so... this is from, what is it called? Jewish Telegraphic Agency. NYC mayoral candidate Curtis Sliwa has a mixed record with Jews. Catch up on it here. Everything you need to know about his views on Israel, anti-Semitism, and the Jews, as they put it. Curtis Sliwa, the Republican nominee for mayor of New York City, is best known for founding the Guardian Angels, and he credits a Jewish group with inspiring the movement. As a teenager going to high school in Crown Heights, a heavily Orthodox Jewish neighborhood, Sliwa says that he saw a group of men chasing out anti-Semitic gangs. That group was the Maccabees, founded by Rabbi Samuel Schwaj to patrol the streets for crime in the 1960s. People leaving shul, running down Kingston towards Empire Boulevard, and these gangbangers were running for their lives. Sliwa recalled in a 2021 interview with journalist Yitzi Weiner, "I said, wow, this really works. These guys are not coming back in here messing with the Lubavitchers." You may as well be speaking like a different dialect because I don't know what's going on here. That image remained with him until he started the Guardian Angels, a citizen patrol group on New York City subways and streets whose members wear a red beret in 1979. It would become one of many stories about Jews in Sliwa's public life, during which he has alternatively talked about Jewish communities with admiration and disdain. The radio host, amateur subway patroller, and local celebrity is raising 2 Jewish sons wearing his red beret as a kippah at their bar mitzvahs. He and their mother, Melinda Katz, separated in 2014, but he has also faced a share of controversies with Jewish communities, including accusations of anti-Semitism. So he's unlikely to do it. What did he say? While Sliwa says he would bulk up NYPD's personnel as mayor, volunteer groups like these are central to his vision for security, especially in Jewish communities. I, unlike any of the candidates, have said Jews must protect themselves, he told the Jewish Telegraphic Agency. If you depend strictly on Gentiles, history is replete with instances where you're going to be horribly disappointed. In another recent... Okay, so we know where he's coming at it from this. In another... This is like... The type of campaign that he's running is like... If you ask like a kindergartner what like the mayor does or like how they would like try to capture the win for the NYC mayoral race. In another recent interview with the Queen's Jewish Link, Sliwa said to Jews that he would not be your Gentile messiah, using the Hebrew word for Messiah. Okay. The patrols that Sliwa views are as key to public safety have been subjects of controversy over the years. In 2008, a 20-year-old black man was beaten by a pair of Shmira patrollers. Another young black man, Taj Pedersen, was brutally attacked by a group of Haredi Orthodox men that included members of Shomrim in 2013. The Guardian Angels, meanwhile, have been criticized for fabricating stunts. In a 92 interview, Sliwa admitted to manufacturing crimes and injuries for the group's publicity. Sliwa told JTA that he wants to introduce students to understanding anti-Semitism at a young age. As a child himself, he described a fork in the road when he lost an academic award to a Jewish classmate. Oh no. Is this why he doesn't like DEI or something? His uncle suggested the classmate had a deal with their Jewish teacher, but Sliwa's father corrected him, saying, "Curtis, he studied a lot harder than you. Lesson, study harder." Damn. BTFO'd by his dad. Sliwa said this kind of correction should be formally implemented in schools. There is no curriculum that addresses the problem of anti-Semitism. Me, I would do it at 3rd and 4th grade. Interesting choice. So Israel and it says the Gaza war, but they mean the genocide. Let's see. Sliwa talks about his visits to Israel as a thread that connects him to Jewish New Yorkers. During a trip there in 98, he offered free rides from bus drivers who mistook him for an Israeli paratrooper with his red beret, he told the Jewish News Syndicate. He applies his theory of Jewish-led security for Jews to Israel, telling the Jewish press, Jews have to organize among themselves. That's why the state of Israel came about. Epic. He has criticized Mamdani's views, saying the frontrunner has, quote, no love in his heart for the state of Israel and for Israelis. Like other candidates, he has rebuked Mamdani for declining to condemn the pro-Palestinian slogan, globalize the Intifada, during the primary. Mamdani has since clarified he does not personally use the language and would discourage it because of interpretations that it could incite violence against Jews. Sliwa went a step further by extending his attacks to Mamdani's Jewish supporters. I would say the Jewish community must look internally, he told to JNS. He said to JNS, why are some of our children and grandchildren following this guy and giving him absolution and exemption when he is using the language of an anti-Semite? Okay. But Sliwa has also said that even though, again, he was asked to condemn a thing that he had never personally said himself. And he's like, well, I don't say it, but I'm fine with other people using it. That's cool. And then now he's going so far as to say he's discouraging people from using it. But he uses the language of an anti-Semite. But Sliwa has also, but of course, like, if he knew what he was talking about, he would be able to say something. And globalize the Intifada is not something that Mamdani has ever said. Sliwa has also said that he's more focused on his law and order platform than foreign policy. In an interview with The Forward, he pointed out that Cuomo's focus on anti-Semitism accusations against Mamdani failed during the Democratic primary, which Mamdani roundly won. Okay, so if you know this, then why the fuck are you doing it now on the debate stage? And he recently acknowledged the intensity of pro-Palestinian sentiment in New York City, citing a New York Times /Siena poll that found voters are more sympathetic to Palestinians than Israel. In an interview with City and State, he suggested that President Donald Trump could dampen Mamdani's momentum by brokering peace in the Middle East. Yeah, that's why he did the ceasefire. So controversies. Sliwa's clashed with Jewish New Yorkers over the years. In a 2018 speech, he described Orthodox Jews as a drag on the tax system and warned suburban residents that they were trying to take over your community. Jesus Christ. This is like so much more like this is always the fucking case with all of these fucking people, man, that the ones that are trying to wave their pitchfork the hardest, saying like, I stand with Jews, I'm an advocate against anti-Semitism, you look into their own fucking past and they've made insane statements that are far more fucking anti-Semitic. Not that Zohran Mamdani said anything anti-Semitic, but like, ugh. We're not talking about the poor, impoverished, disabled people who need help. We're talking about able-bodied men who study Torah and Talmud all day, and we subsidize them. He said in a videotape meeting in the Hudson Valley, all they do is make babies like there's no tomorrow, and who's subsidizing that? We are. So he's literally pulling, so Sliwa was pulling out a new trope instead of like the welfare queen. He doesn't want you to conjure up like a black woman anymore. He wants you to think of like Hasidic Jews. You know, I obviously don't have an issue with him criticizing, like, subsidizing and, like, policies or whatever. It's the fact that he's like, these Jews are trying to take over your community. That's insane to fucking say. This speech resurfaced when Sliwa ran for mayor in 2021. He responded with a video in which he did not apologize or disavow his comments, but offered to meet with Orthodox leaders to resolve our differences. So I love how he's concerned trolling about Mamdani not condemning globalize the Intifada, but then when he's put in the position where he could apologize or he can condemn or retract his past statements, he won't fucking do it. My two youngest sons have been raised Jewish. They need to read it. They need to read this to say to themselves, my father is an anti-Semite. Come on, even my worst critics out there would recognize that's a Shonda. He said in the video. Despite his offense at being called an anti-Semite, Sliwa sparked backlash again at a 2024 event by saying that anti-Semitism was innate to Gentiles. Holy fuck. It's in our DNA. He said at an event supporting then presidential candidate Donald Trump in Staten Island. It's also, oh fuck, so have I been misinformed this whole time? I thought that he was like an anti-Trump Republican. But if he was at an event that was supporting Trump, then maybe he's not. I also have to hold myself back sometimes, and I have Jewish children. Oh my god. He later told JTA that he used the wrong term in those remarks, meaning to say that anti-Semitism was often fed into the minds of non-Jews. Need I say more? Again, it's in our DNA. I have to hold myself back sometimes. It's in his DNA to make these anti-Semitic remarks as a fucking Gentile. Okay, interesting. So that's that on Curtis Sliwa's record on anti-Semitism. Let's get back to our scheduled programming.
It has to do with the fact that I am the first Muslim candidate to be on the precipice of winning this election. Now, all the same, Curtis, I do still want to be the mayor that will keep your sons safe, that will keep every single New Yorker safe. And it is my job to not only deliver on that commitment, but also to ensure that New Yorkers feel it every single day that they live in the city.
Okay, candidates, Brian's going to take us into the next section.
Thank you, Errol. And the next section is some individual political questions, one for each of you. Let me start with you, Mr. Cuomo, then Katie will ask a question of Mr. Sliwa and Errol to Mr. Mamdani. Mr. Cuomo, the last time most New Yorkers saw you before this campaign was when you resigned your seat as governor under scandal in 2021. The most recent Quinnipiac University poll in this race shows that 54% of likely voters say you're unethical. Meanwhile, you also have strained relations with Governor Hochul, State Attorney General Letitia James, and others. What would you say right now to New Yorkers who have questions about your moral compass and concerns that you cannot effectively work with other elected officials?
Yeah, well, first...
yeah, fuck those people.
You somewhat misstated the facts, but I resigned because there was allegations made. I didn't want to waste the time and distract state government. I knew it was going to take a long time to sort out. I left, which I thought was respectful to state government. We sorted it out legally. Nothing came from any of the allegations. I was dropped from the cases. You know that. We've had this discussion 4 times, but you like to talk about the past rather than...
the fucking contempt for them bringing up his fucking record, the fact that he sexually harassed these women and then use taxpayer money to defend himself. And now it's like going around slandering them.
Yesterday. I chose Governor Kathy Hochul.
I summoned gynecological records, yada, yada.
No problem working with her. The legislature...
Am I crazy? Didn't he settle? Well, the state of New York settled because one of them got paid like $450,000. Hold on. Cuomo victim, $450. Taxpayer. Did I put that? This was reported July 18th of this year. New York agrees to settle ex-Cuomo aide's harassment claims for $450,000. The former executive aide, Brittany Camiso, accused Andrew M. Cuomo of groping her when he was governor. The state did not admit wrongdoing. So they gave her the money, but he didn't admit wrongdoing.
I got 11 budgets passed
and now
on
he's saying they're liars.
Time. Most in modern political history. They haven't gotten one done on time since I was there. So don't tell me who knows how to work with the legislature. And a mayor being able to deal with that legislature is key. Because don't kid yourself, I've watched every governor and mayor since Ed Hutch. There is a tension between the city and the state. The city's arguing for its budgets, the state is saying no, and the city has been getting screwed by the state, and that has to change, and the city has to be doing better.
Thank you. Katie?
New Yorkers, you've often presented yourself as more of a well-known New York character than a serious policy expert. Your critics have said your candidacy is making it more likely that Zohran Mamdani can win the election. What do you say to them and to others who feel that while your name recognition has seen a boost, your candidacy is not helpful to New Yorkers, including those who share your views?
Number one, I have 13 campaign offices open. I'm throughout the outer boroughs. You see the excitement and energy of the working class people that I represent. I am the Republican populist candidate representing the working class. And I'm also, Katie, the candidate on the independent line, first ever put together by my wife, Nancy, who loves animals like so many. Save the animals, no kill shelters, animal abusers go to jail. So people know that I'm not just running to protect people, which has been my life as leader of the Guardian Angels. I'm there to protect our pets and animals. Because remember, Mahatma Gandhi said, a society that does not take care of its animals does not take care of its people. Homeless, emotionally disturbed, veterans. I'm out there every day tending to their needs with the Guardian Angels, doing things that the city and state should have been doing a long time ago, but neglected them and instead spent $7 billion on migrants that we don't even know. That is a disgrace. We should be there for our own people who are suffering and wallowing in desperation and despair.
Okay, Mr. Mamdani. You have criticized the politics of the past where leaders either avoid taking a stand on a key issue or try to be all things to all people. But at times during this campaign, you've carefully avoided answering tough questions. We saw an instance just a few minutes ago when I asked about how you plan to vote on those ballot initiatives next month.
Someone asked what he did, like what Andrew Cuomo did when he was governor, like how he sexually harassed people, which is, it's so disgusting because it honestly should have fucking ended his career. But the AG's, this is the AG's 165-page report, and it is fucking disturbing. So, the governor's sexually harassing conduct. Established during our investigation and described in greater detail in the factual findings of this report includes the following. Executive Assistant number 1. Since approximately late 2019, the governor engaged in a pattern of inappropriate conduct with an executive assistant, who is a woman. The pattern of conduct included 1. Close and intimate hugs, 2. Kisses on the cheek, forehead, and at least 1 kiss on the lips. 3. Touching and grabbing of executive assistant's butt during hugs and on one occasion while taking selfies with him. And 4. Comments and jokes by the governor about executive assistant's personal life and relationships, including calling her and another assistant mingle mamas, inquiring multiple times about whether she had cheated on or would cheat on her husband, and asking her to help him find a girlfriend. These offensive interactions, among others, culminated in an incident at the executive mansion in November 2020, when the governor, during another close hug with executive assistant number 1, reached under her blouse and grabbed her breast. For over 3 months, executive assistant number 1 kept this groping incident to herself and planned to take it to the grave, but found herself becoming emotional in a way that was visible to her colleagues in the executive chamber while watching the governor state at a press conference on March 3rd, 2021, that he had never, quote, touched anyone inappropriately. She then confided in certain of her colleagues, who in turn reported her allegations to senior staff in the executive chamber. Trooper number 1. In early November 2017, the governor briefly met a New York State trooper, a woman at an event on the Robert F. Kennedy Bridge, the RFK Bridge, also known as the Triborough Bridge. After meeting Trooper number 1, he spoke with a senior member of his protective detail about seeking to have Trooper number 1 join the Protective Services Unit, or PSU, the unit of the New York State Police that is in charge of protecting the governor and works in close vicinity of the governor. Trooper number 1 was then hired into the PSU, despite not meeting the requirement to have at least 3 years of state police service to join the PSU. In an email to Trooper number 1 shortly after the RFK Bridge event, Senior Investigator number 1 noted, attaching in a vacancy notice with a 2-year service requirement as opposed to 3 years. Haha, they changed the minimum from 3 years to 2. Just for you. Weird. After trooper number 1 joined the PSU, Governor sexually harassed her on a number of occasions, including by 1, running his hand across her stomach from her belly button to her right hip while she had held a door open for him at an event. 2, running his finger down her back from the top of her neck down her spine to the middle of her back saying, "Hey you," while she was standing in front of him in an elevator. 3, kissing her and only her on the cheek in front of another trooper and asking to kiss her on another occasion, which she deflected. And 4, making sexually suggestive and gender-based comments, including A, asking her to help him find a girlfriend. Dude, this motherfucker is so lonely and desperate asking for this shit. He is like coming off like a fucking where's my hug guy. I forgot that he like kept asking these fucking women to like help him find a girlfriend. And describing his criteria for a girlfriend as someone who can handle pain. B, asking her why she wanted to get married when marriage means your sex drive goes down. And C, asking her why she did not wear a dress. Trooper number 1 found these interactions with the governor not only offensive and uncomfortable, but markedly different from the way the governor interacted with members of the PSU who were men. Crazy. And she conveyed these incidents contemporaneously to colleagues. Several other PSU troopers corroborated trooper number 1's allegations, including some who had personally witnessed some of the touching and comments, as well as the gender-based difference in the way the governor treats troopers. Charlotte Bennett, and this is the last one that I'll read because there were a lot of fucking women that came forward. In a series of conversations in 2020 with an aide, Charlotte Bennett, the governor, made inappropriate comments, including, among many other things, 1, telling Mrs. Bennett and talking about potential girlfriends for him. Oh my God, it doesn't end. It doesn't end. This is so horrible to read. That he would be willing to date someone who was as young as 22 years old. He knew Ms. Bennett was 25 at the time. 2, asking her whether she had been with older men. 3, saying to her during the pandemic that he was lonely and wanted to be touched. 4, asking whether Ms. Bennett was monogamous. 5, telling Ms. Bennett after she told him that she was considering getting a tattoo for her birthday, that if she decides to get a tattoo, she should get it on her butt where it could not be seen. 6, asking whether she had any piercings other than her ears. And 7, saying that he wanted to ride his motorcycle into the mountains with a woman. These comments by the governor, as evidenced contemporaneously in numerous text exchanges Ms. Bennett had with others, followed and coincided with discussions she previously had with the governor about her having been a survivor of sexual assault and made her extremely uncomfortable. They made her so uncomfortable that following a series of exchanges with the governor in June 2020, Ms. Bennett reported the interactions to the governor's chief of staff. While the executive chamber moved Ms. Bennett to a different position where she would not need to interact with the governor in response to Ms. Bennett's allegations, the executive chamber did not report the allegations at the time to the governor's office of employee relations, or GOER, the state agency tasked with conducting harassment investigations for state agencies, and did not otherwise conduct any formal investigation. Instead, the executive chamber's senior staff sought to implement a practice whereby individual staff members who were women were not to be left alone with the governor. Fucking insane.
We've asked whether you support a major rezoning push for part of Queens, some of which is in your district. You've been unclear about how you think the city schools should be run, its governance structure. How is that different from politics as usual?
When it comes to our schools, I believe that every single child deserves to have an excellent public education. And we have not seen that under the stewardship of those schools with this mayoral administration. We have not seen it because we are not fully funding those schools. We are not on track to comply with the class size mandates of those schools. We are not even on track to ensure greater literacy levels across those schools, despite the strides that have been taken with NYC REITs. When it comes to rezoning, I've been very clear that I will always celebrate the addition of additional housing units across the city. I also believe that Gantry State Park and Queensbridge Park should be one contiguous park. Those are things that one can believe at the same time. And my critiques of the politics of the past is right here on the stage. You can see in Andrew Cuomo someone who had 10 years to deliver on so much of what he's spoken about. He says that taking 5 years to build affordable housing is the sign of an incompetent government. By his own words, that means he must have led an incompetent government. That is what we are seeing, because that is the record that is actually on offer.
Yeah, go ahead.
I understand my friend doesn't really understand government. The governor doesn't build housing in New York City.
Not if it's you.
No, legally, there are jurisdictions. The governor doesn't pick up trash. He doesn't run the fire department. That's what the mayor does. The mayor builds housing. The state allocates funding for localities. And I allocated more funding for housing than any governor in the history of the state of New York. All right? I did things. You have never had a job. You've never accomplished anything. There's no reason.
You've never sexually harassed as many women as I have as governor.
To believe you have any merit or qualification for 8.5 million lives. You don't know how to run a government. You don't know how to handle an emergency.
If Zohran doesn't take this opportunity to be like, yeah, I never killed a bunch of people in a fucking nursing home and then tried to cover it up, I'm going to be so disappointed.
Literally never proposed a bill on anything that you're now talking about in your campaign. You had the worst attendance record in the assembly, and you gave yourselves the highest raise in the United States of America. You went from $110,000 to $140,000, and then you never showed up for work, and you missed 80% of the votes. Shame on you. Shame on you.
No, it is always a pleasure to hear Andrew Cuomo create his own facts at every debate stage. We just had a former governor say in his own words that the city has been getting screwed by the state. Who was leading the state? It was you.
Governor Hochul.
You were leading the state for
Governor
10 years,
Hochul.
screwing the city.
No.
You cut
You
homelessness
as a legislator.
funding. You cut funding for the MTA.
He's quick on his feet, man.
You did all of these things, my
That's
friend.
the past 4 years. It's the past 4 years.
Okay, guys, I didn't want to have to do this, but you understand how this works. You can't talk over each other. Nothing works if you do that. I believe we've heard your response. I wanted to give you a quick word, and then we're going to move on.
I heard the both of them again fighting like kids in the schoolyard. Zohran, your resume could fit on a cocktail napkin, and Andrew, your failures could fill a public school.
Here's the thing, though, is that the proposals that they're criticizing him for not bringing forth as a New York City assemblyman, you should only bring forth bills that really have a chance of passing. So why would he advance bills when he knows that he doesn't have the support from his colleagues? Because if he had done that, then they would be saying, well, he tried to get a bunch of bills passed, but they were so unpopular that nobody wanted to vote for them. So he brought a bunch of stuff to the floor, wasted a bunch of people's time because these ideas fucking suck. So there's like really no way that they wouldn't attack him on this angle.
Library in New York City.
Okay, go ahead, Katie.
We're going to move now to
Also, again, they're trying to make it seem like this is like not a strength for him. Like, again, people are, this is again a post-Trump era. They are looking for candidates that are younger, that are not necessarily, that are not like retail politicians or don't have a bunch of fucking experience.
Safety. And there was some breaking news from the New York Times that you, Mr. Mamdani, would ask Police Commissioner Jessica Tisch to stay on as police commissioner if you are indeed mayor. I wanted to confirm if that was true. And for Mr. Cuomo and Mr. Sliwa, would you ask the current police commissioner to stay on if you were elected? So, Mr. Mamdani, we'll start with you.
Yes, I can confirm that reporting. My administration will be relentless in its pursuit of safety and affordability for every New Yorker. And the delivery of that will require us to put together a team of the best and the brightest. Eric Adams stacked the upper echelons of the NYPD with corruption and incompetence. Commissioner Tisch took on a broken status quo, started to deliver accountability, rooting out corruption, and reducing crime across the 5 boroughs. I have said time and again that my litmus test for that position will be excellence, and the alignment will be of that position. And I am confident that under a Mamdani administration, we will continue to deliver on that same mission and do so while creating the Department of Community Safety to ensure that mental health experts were the ones responding to the mental health crisis. Because safety and justice is at the cornerstone of our pursuit of public safety, and in doing so, we will also be able to deliver our agenda for affordability.
Thank you. And very briefly, quickly, Mr. Sliwa and Mr. Cuomo, would you ask Commissioner Tisch to stay on if you are elected mayor?
Yes, I would, for stability. But then again, I don't think she would serve with either Cuomo or Zohran because she has railed against no cash bail. Cuomo, the architect of no cash bail, Zohran, the apprentice of no cash bail. That's why criminals are running in the street.
And Mr. Cuomo, would you ask her to stay on?
I would ask her to stay on. I don't believe Zohran when he says he would ask her to stay on. The DSA's position, his position has been to defund, disband the police. She wouldn't take that. His current position, today's position was freeze the budget. That would cause a reduction in police. She has called for more police. I've called for more police. Mayor Adams has called for more police. So their philosophies are totally incongruous. DSA calls for eliminating misdemeanors. He wants to decriminalize prostitution. I don't think she would support any of that.
Well, we can't speak for her. She's not here. But I will ask the public safety question. And we'll start with you, Mr. Sliwa. The issues of crime and disorder on the streets. The NYPD says the crime is going down in all major categories, most major categories, but to New Yorkers, they're still concerned with disorder and their own unique perception of crime. Do you think addressing quality of life concerns helps prevent more serious crimes, and how would you deploy the city's police force to deal with those serious violent crimes and also quality of life offenses like disorderly conduct and retail theft? Mr. Sliwa.
First off, I've been in all 350 neighborhoods. I'm the only candidate that's on the subway each and every day. I've yet to hear from one New Yorker who said they feel safer either in the subways or the streets, and Eric Adams constantly heckling at us like it's the perception. No, it's the reality of crime. We need 7,000 police officers. We are badly understaffed. We need to get police officers.
We need to lower taxes, but also expand the NYPD.
In the subways actually patrolling the moving cars where people are most threatened and most frightened, and we need to bring back the homeless outreach unit that was disbanded.
How dense is New York City public transportation? This idea that you can it's practical to have cops in these subways or on these buses patrolling up and down. Is that a thing of the past? Did it work? And is it something that's even feasible now? I'm just logistically, even if I supported this or whatever, does that even fucking work?
When de Blasio took $1 billion out of the budget, these were men and women police officers who already had with them medical nurses and healthcare practitioners, but it was de Blasio who abolished it, and they've been talking about bringing something back ever since, but they never do it. Because I'm out there in the subways every day and I never see it. And when I'm mayor, it gets done on day one. The homeless outreach unit is put back into the NYPD.
Thank you. Mr. Mamdani.
You know, when I hear from New Yorkers of where they feel least safe, they will often tell me the subway system. And when they explain those moments to me, what they are often explaining is a mental health crisis in our city and a crisis of homelessness that has only continued to grow. And that is why, at the heart of our public safety agenda, is a groundbreaking proposal to not only reduce crime, but address these very moments of unease for New Yorkers across the 5 boroughs by creating a Department of Community Safety that will be focused on the mental health crisis, focused on homelessness, and will ensure that police officers can focus on serious crimes. Because in 2020, the response time for those officers was less than 11 minutes. Today, it's closer to 16 minutes. And that's because every year, they are now responding to 200,000 mental health calls, when those are calls that could by and large be taken by experts trained on responding to that very crisis.
Thank you. Mr. Cuomo.
The answer is always a new government agency. It's manage the system, manage the public safety system. We know how to do this. Mayor David Dinkins did it when we had a real crime problem. Hire more police officers. Of course, you have to deal with the mentally ill. Of course, that requires mental health specialists with police, because the situation can be dangerous. But hire the 5,000 more cops. Because
I don't like that language, but I also wouldn't be surprised if a lot of New Yorkers appreciate that language, because that's probably how they see it, unfortunately.
They're all quitting because they're getting worked too hard. You're going to have to raise the starting salary because nobody wants to be a cop today, the way they're treated. Put 1,500 in the subway.
The poor landlords and the poor fucking cops.
Forget this Zohran idea of not prosecuting misdemeanors. Prosecute misdemeanors. Those are quality of life crimes. And that's very important. Yes, the subways are scary, but it's scary in their neighborhood too. Those quality of life crimes also have to be addressed.
Mr. Mamdani.
No matter how many times Andrew Cuomo describes it as my idea or my policy, I have never once stated that we were not going to prosecute misdemeanors. And that is what you see from the former governor, is someone who spends more time talking about the platforms of other organizations and other individuals than the one that I've actually put forward, or the one that he is supposed to be running on.
Now we'll hear from Brian for another question.
Excuse me 1 second. Can I just respond to that accusation?
When it's misdemeanors or felonies, no cash bail releases him back into the streets, and both of you are for no cash bail.
I want to move on. You'll get your opportunities, I think, because I want to bring up a particular crime concern, and that is violence among younger New Yorkers, specifically teenagers.
When Straighterade grows up and gets some rental properties and marries a cop, her tune will change. Grant Withers, how old do you think I am when I grow up? Do you think I'm like 18? And 2, my boyfriend is a veteran, and you can ask him if my feelings on the U.S. military have changed that much.
My question is, what is your stance on the statewide Raise the Age law, which increased the age of adult criminal responsibility from 16 years old to 18 for most crimes? Police Commissioner Tisch says, quote, the mentality on the street is that nothing happens to those under 18 who possess a gun. So would you support modifying Raise the Age in any way? And Mr. Mamdani, since you just announced that you would invite Commissioner Tisch to stay on, would you go along with her on this?
I would not support changes to the state's legislation, and I would not support them because the major issue with the implementation of that legislation has been the fact that there is hundreds of millions of dollars that was supposed to be delivered alongside that law that is still languishing in Albany. And I am excited to be the next mayor of the city to finally fight for the money that this city is owed to ensure that we deliver it to our young people across the 5 boroughs.
Mr. Cuomo.
What I was referring to before is
Mr. Cuomo.
Zohran is a member of the DSA, Democratic Socialists of America. They have a charter. He gives them 3% of his salary. He has said multiple times, I'm a DSA member, I pledge allegiance. They say abolish jails, defund police, don't enforce misdemeanors.
He always says this. He got this wrong again. He got this wrong at the last debate, and he did it again this time. The position is not and has never been abolish jails. It's like prison abolition.
Go to my website, andrewcuomo.com. It's right on the front page. Now, is he lying to the DSA? Is he lying to New York? Is he lying to everybody? Who knows? On the raise the age, I passed the law. I support the law. We were one of only 2 states that put 16 and 17-year-olds in adult prisons. It was inhumane. It was cruel and unusual, and I'm proud of that law. It's administered by local governments. Some are doing it better than others. If Zohran thought that there was money locked up in Albany, maybe he should have gone to Albany and proposed a bill to release it.
Mr. Sliwa.
Once again, the architect of Raise the Age, Governor Cuomo, the apprentice to him, Zohran, it's personal for me. My oldest son, Anthony, last October was the victim of a vicious gang assault that could have killed him. And what happened to these juveniles? Cut free, because they went to family court, not criminal court. So how can both of you look at me? I almost lost my oldest son to gang violence, and the perpetrators went to family court and got a little pat on the wrist and was sent home to do it again and again.
This is a Wendy's.
No. We need to start charging juveniles who commit violent crime in criminal court, and I'll appoint criminal court judges who follow the law and don't just release them because of no cash bail.
Clear difference between you on that. Ms. Errol, you can go.
Okay, candidates, I've got individual questions for you.
I'm just like going off over here about like my fucking kid was almost shot just like I was 50 fucking years ago on the street. I should probably do like the accent as well, right? I should probably get my beret on before I do the impression.
To try and pick up the pace a little bit here, I'd like you to really just explain kind of where you're coming from. Mr. Mamdani,
Did you watch Flagrant Pod with Zora? No, I didn't. How did that go?
Reorganizing the NYPD to create this Department of Community Safety that, among other things, would handle calls involving people in mental health distress. Your opponents have disparaged this as sending social workers rather than cops into dangerous situations like domestic violence disputes. Explain really what you have in mind, and please include...
This debate is the equivalent of pulling out pictures of your kids from his wallet.
Any evidence that this approach would work.
Absolutely. What my opponents are clinging to is the past. Because
that's just got the sauce unteachable. The flagrant boys always have to be like, it's not cool to, one, they're like hostile to Dems. And even though they've like soured on Trump because he's the incumbent, also he's governing like, you could have known that he was going to govern if you knew anything about his first fucking term, like a fucking traditional Republican. And worse this time around, obviously. But they always have to be kind of like anti-establishment and like disaffected. So even with Zoran's Riz, like I'm not so sure that could like get through to them, especially since he was open to like hearing Bernie out and he was enthusiastic to have Bernie on. But you know, Bernie's like an old white grandpa. You got like Mamdani, who's like young Muslim Democratic Socialist, and I wouldn't be surprised if that change alone also makes them change their demeanor towards him.
That's all that they know. What I am proposing is something that will address the needs of New Yorkers in the present. We speak and hear from New Yorkers
is so critical of Zohran but couldn't do it to their face. Ooh,
across the 5 boroughs who outline how the mental health crisis is one of the major challenges in this city. And yet what we have in our city is asking those same police officers who are being asked to respond to shootings, respond to murders, to also respond to these calls. I trust the dispatchers who would be receiving these calls to make the determination as to whether there was any indication of violence. If there is no indication of a threat of violence, then we would say...
He was like, you want to create a new government agency to handle this. And he's talking about expanding social workers and sending them in certain instances instead of a cop. That's not creating a new government agency.
the mental health experts and providers to respond to those same incidents. The reason I believe in the efficacy of this approach is because of the fact that it has been delivered elsewhere in the country. So no matter how often you hear those on this stage tell you that something cannot be done, know that there are others in this same country who have seen it, and it is time for that same policy to come to New York City.
Okay, Mr. Sliwa and Mr. Cuomo, I have a similar question for both of you. The department currently fields about 33,000 officers, down from 37,000 in 2018. Public safety budget approaching $10 billion. Mr. Sliwa, you want to hire 7,000 more cops. Mr. Cuomo says 5,000 more cops. Each of you make the case for why you think that's necessary, especially given the fact that for much of New York City, crime declines over the last 20 years happened while the size of the force was also declining and not rising.
Errol, I have to revisit the last debate for a second when Zohran was basing this policy on what they do in Eugene, Oregon. You've never been to Eugene, Oregon. I have. Are you out of your mind? And then Columbus, Ohio. This is New York City, a major metropolitan area with thousands of 911 calls, domestic abuse, emotionally disturbed persons, and you want to have social workers go out there and risk their life. And by the way, they're not going to get the results.
That's the case with anybody who responds to any issue, any crime, anything ever in New York City. That's with any civil servant that's interacting with somebody in fucking New York City. They're risking their lives if this is your narrative. That is not something that is uniquely burdensome to social workers. That would just generally apply.
A trained professional police officer can get. That's why we so desperately need 7,000 new cops. We'll use the Boston model, which is pay now in lieu of taxes. They do it at Harvard University and the other university. We'll raise $1 billion, get them vetted, trained, and out into the streets so they can be seen in all the neighborhoods. And most important,
that's why you have sworn in officers. Yeah, but Zohran Mamdani is not a fucking police abolitionist. He's not even willing to say defund the police. I mean, his policy and practice is like, I don't know, it's not like proper, it's like literally just like moving funds around, right? But he's not hostile to cops. He's just saying in particular instances, it doesn't make sense for them to be the ones actually doing the patrolling or responding to crimes. Or not even crimes necessarily, but just allegations and reports that are coming through on 911.
They were sworn to do, and I will make sure that their insurance, the qualified immunity that was stripped from them, the only civil servants who are not protected by the taxpayer, is returned so that they can freely go out and do what they were trained to do, is to protect all of the people of New York City.
Okay, Mr. Cuomo.
There is nothing new here. We've had mentally ill, homeless people going back to the Billy Boggs case, right, under the Ed Koch administration. I ran homeless services, not just for David Dinkins, but also for President Clinton. I've worked in every state, all the large cities, on all homeless programs. I've spent dozens of nights out trying to bring mentally ill people in. It can be done with mental health workers and police workers. You cannot tell from a phone call if a person is going to be dangerous. And I have seen personally many times a person who seemed very calm and sedate explode into rage. Why? Because that is sometimes a symptom of mental illness. So there's nothing new here. It just has to be done and managed. Yes, you need more police. You need more police, first of all, Errol, because they're quitting because there are not enough to staff the force, and they're working overtime and weekends, and their family life is destroyed. So you have the highest attrition rate in modern history. You have to hire 5,000 just to slow down the attrition.
Okay, thank you,
It's like I need to look into what the reason is, because I don't take any of these fucking politicians at their word that like, oh, this is specifically the reason why that you see this high attrition rate, because all of these fucking even though Mamdani is not like anti-NYPD cop, I fucking wish he was. All of these New York City mayors and politicians have been like super gung-ho and pro NYPD, and nonetheless, all of that bootlicking and ass kissing still you have this attrition rate. So what accounts for it? I think it's probably far more complicated than what they're fucking saying here.
Beds for mental health in the state hospital system. By the time you fled fearing impeachment, you cut the budget down to 4,000 beds. Shame on you for putting those emotionally disturbed persons in the street.
You don't know what you're telling. Well, there's one bet I'm going to say for you, but no one is saying to go back to Willowbrook. That's when there were 40,000 people in mental institutions. Yeah. We left that 40 years ago when we went to community-based housing.
We're going to stay in this century, guys. Yeah. The next, We're going to do our lightning round where each candidate will answer our questions with a brief response, usually yes or no. I'm going to do the first couple. Candidates, if you had the power, would you keep, kill...
Did he say they made the audience groan? I think because he just wanted to move on.
...or modify the congestion pricing program? Just say one of those words. Keep, kill, or modify. Mr. Sliwa.
One and done. Dead.
Mr. Mamdani.
Keep.
Okay. Would you expand, decrease, or keep the same number of so-called safe injection sites for drug users in the city? Mr. Mamdani.
Can you say the options again?
Expand, decrease, or keep the same?
Keep the same.
Mr. Cuomo.
Keep.
Close them down.
Okay. The last two mayors proposed allocating 1% of the city budget for parks. Will you make the same pledge here tonight, Mr. Sliwa?
Add another 2%. Keep your hands off the parks, you greedy developers.
1%.
Mr. Cuomo.
It's like so funny watching somebody who's like, again, a right-wing populist has to oscillate between being really, really hostile to corporate interests and in some cases, and then very, very friendly to them in others.
1%. Okay.
2%.
Okay.
Another lightning round question. The city recently enacted a 15-mile-per-hour speed limit for e-bikes. And of course, there are the other motorized two-wheelers that also frequently ignore red lights and other traffic laws. If you were mayor, would you direct the NYPD to ramp up speeding tickets and other moving violations on the motorized two-wheelers, Mr. Cuomo?
Yes. Look, this is a dangerous situation for many people.
Mr. Mamdani, yes or no?
I would actually build on the city council's progress in holding the apps accountable like DoorDash and Grubhub to ensure that there weren't incentives for breaking those street traffic laws.
So you would not increase ticketing the riders?
I do not think the police should be the ones dealing with the failures of these app companies.
Mr. Sliwa.
License them, register them, and yes, do enforcement on them.
All right. There is a ballot question to align mayoral election years with presidential election years in the future. Do you support this, Mr. Sliwa?
Absolutely not. All the attention would go to the presidential election, not to the mayoral election and all the down-ballot elections, all of our city council people.
That's a no, Mr. Mamdani.
I haven't yet taken a position on any of the ballot referendums.
Oh, shocker.
Again?
Again and again and again.
I'm less confused about why he didn't take it on the other one about like changing zoning laws. That one I am more confused about, like why he doesn't have a position on the ballot amendments.
Thank you so much. First question, do you support having a casino in the 5 boroughs, like it's a full casino, and do you have a favorite among the 3 current contenders? Mr. Sliwa.
No, only if the community wants it.
Mr. Mamdani.
I'm personally skeptical of casinos, but voters did choose to bring them to New York City, and unlike Andrew Cuomo and Donald Trump, I don't view the law as just a suggestion.
Do you have a favorite of the 3?
No, I don't have favorites of casinos.
Mr. Cuomo.
Can we have another parade question, please?
I have not reviewed the proposals. I was not I did not vote.
It's not so hard to say.
I did. Let me just so you understand some facts. I did not vote.
He doesn't want to take a position or whatever. Yeah, it's almost like sometimes, it's better to fucking think about your position instead of just yapping away. And then he's over here like stumbling over his words. He doesn't have an answer for this.
Bring the casinos to New York City. I did casinos in upstate New York as economic development measures. I had no part of these 3 casinos, how they were done. I think it's highly problematic, and I think there's going to be a lot more to come.
If this was a ranked choice,
you and Zohran can't answer a straight question.
If there was a ranked choice election, how would you vote, Mr. Mamdani?
If there was a ranked choice election?
In this. You'd have to rank these.
Myself, number 1, and Curtis, number 2.
Mr. Sliwa.
Oh, please don't be glazing me here, Zohran.
Glazing?
Are you kidding?
Oh my God, what is going on?
Mr. Sliwa, do you want to have
I support ranked choice voting, but I'd only vote for myself.
Mr. Cuomo?
I love that Zohran and Curtis ticket idea. I don't know, I'm just enamored with it. I would just rank myself.
Would any of you accept Mayor Adams' endorsement? Mr. Mamdani?
No.
Mr. Cuomo?
Yes, I would.
Mr. Sliwa?
Absolutely not. Put that crook in jail where he belongs.
And final, a fun one.
Be careful. Be careful.
What is your favorite live music venue in New York City, Mr. Sliwa?
Oh, chain smokers. EDM.
Under the K Bridge, I presume.
That's right, the Kosciuszko Bridge.
Mr. Mamdani?
Forest Hill Stadium.
Mr. Cuomo?
Under the Kosciuszko Bridge.
Have you seen a show under the K Bridge? Who'd you see?
No, I picked up my daughters at a show there. That's as close as I got.
Candidates, it's time for the cross-examination round. That's where each candidate gets a chance to ask one question of one rival. The order was selected at random. We're going to begin with Curtis Sliwa.
Zohran, you talk about free. But we know that somebody's got to pay for it, and that's you, the taxpayers. And that's going to lead to bankruptcy. The only reason that Zohran is on the stage is because of the failed Governor Cuomo, who was rejected by the Democrats in the primary and rejected by 13 women who charged you with sexual harassment. Do you ever know that no means no? You know what no means?
Your question is to Mr. Mamdani? Who was your question
to? We can bifurcate it, right?
No. You can't. Who was your question
to? It's to Cuomo.
Okay. Your response, Mr. Cuomo.
I'm not sure what the man said. But the situation, my legal situation, as we discussed before, was fully litigated. I was dropped from the cases. If anyone has a legal situation to talk about, I think it's Mr. Sliwa, who runs the Guardian Angels, and apparently as a charitable donation, but never filed any tax returns for the Guardian Angels, and has been accepting charitable donations, which is just
He was telling me about this, that apparently Curtis is like the Guardian Angels have been involved in like corruption like this. Also wouldn't be surprised.
Crime and tax fraud. So I think that's the person who I was explaining to do.
Okay, your turn to ask a question, Mr. Cuomo.
To Zohran, I believe, as we've stated, that you have been a divisive force in New York, and I believe that's toxic energy for New York. It's with the Jewish community, it's with the Italian-American community when you give the Columbus statue the finger, it's with the Sunni Muslims when you say decriminalize prostitution, which is haram, it's the Hindus, but then you take a picture with Rebecca Kadaga, Deputy Prime Minister of Uganda. You take the picture with your father, you're smiling, he's smiling. She's known as Rebecca Gay Killer Kadaga.
Question.
You're a citizen of Uganda. You took the picture, you said you didn't know who she was, it turns out you did. How do you not renounce your citizenship or demand BDS against Uganda for imprisoning people who are gay? Just by their sexual...
I did not know that's where we were going to land on this.
...orientation. Isn't that a basic violation of human rights?
I think he gets the question.
So because he was photographed with somebody who is like a criminal or something, he's supposed to renounce his citizenship from Uganda? Like, what? So if I take a picture with Andrew Cuomo, isn't he like, is he not convicted of something? If he's not, he should be. Should I have to renounce my U.S. citizenship or something?
My politics is consistent.
This is very, very bizarre to like target him on this background and basis.
And my politics is built on a belief in human rights for all people.
Cuomo would never ask any like Jewish individual, even somebody who was like pro-Israel, to like answer for like the crimes of like Israel.
And that extends to queer and trans New York.
Oh yeah, Cuomo's photographed with Bibi.
And it extends to queer and trans Ugandans. And had I known that the first deputy minister was the architect of that legislation, I would not have taken that photo. And yet I also know that this constant attempt to smear and slander me is an attempt to also distract from the fact that, unlike myself, you do not actually have a platform or a set of policies to protect those same New Yorkers here. All you have are the insults that you have lobbed at every single opportunity you have.
Yeah. Okay. No, that's it. Cross-examination is just a question and answer. Your turn to ask a question.
Mr. Cuomo.
Do pro-Israel people actually think that like Cuomo's cooking by doing this? Like telling this like rambling story about something that Zohran did that, again, if the New York Times is bringing up like, is like citing fucking neo-Nazis to be like, Mamdani lied about his fucking race or whatever to try to like get into different schools. Like if this were some point of controversy that could have been weaponized, it already would have come to light. So I have no idea what he's talking about. I don't think most people know what he's talking about. And then it just seems like completely unrelated to be like, why aren't you calling for like a beat? It's like, yeah, what do we think the difference is between Israel, like the United States relationship with Israel versus fucking Uganda?
Well, in 2021, 13
Cuomo to announce he's renouncing his citizenship tonight.
Different women who worked in your administration credibly accused you of sexual harassment. Since then, you have spent more than $20 million in taxpayer funds to defend yourself, all while describing these allegations as entirely political. You have even gone so far as to legally go after these women. One of those women, Charlotte Bennett, is here in the audience this evening. You sought to access her private gynecological records. She cannot speak up for herself because you lodged a defamation case against her. I, however, can speak. What do you say to the 13 women that you sexually harassed?
Oh, shit. Oh, shit. Getting frisky.
If you want to be in government, then you have to be serious and mature. There were allegations of sexual harassment. They were then went to 5 district attorneys, fully litigated for 4 years. The cases were dropped, right? You know that as a fact. So everything you just stated, you just said was a misstatement.
So because a case was dropped, that means it didn't happen at all, right?
Which we're accustomed to.
Stated was a misstatement?
Yes, because the cases were dropped. That's what happened. And my question to you, you still...
And why did you resign then?
An answer. Why won't you say BDS against Uganda for saying gays should be imprisoned for being gay?
And this is like total deflection. Again, does this Hosbara shit actually work on anybody that doesn't already agree with him?
No problem with BDS against Israel, but no BDS for Uganda.
This is just one question, one answer. We all heard it. Thank you very much, candidates. Brian.
Our next topic is education. The next mayor will oversee the largest school system in the United States, as you know, with roughly 900,000 students, thousands of schools, and billions of dollars in budget. We have an education question for each of you. Mr. Mamdani, you said you would give up mayoral control of schools and share decision-making with various stakeholders. But in the last debate, you said you're still for mayoral accountability for educational outcomes. This has confused some people about how you can give up final authority but still hold yourself accountable. Can you try to clarify that?
I remain opposed to mayoral control, and I also believe that the mayor is accountable for that which happens in this city. I will not shirk that accountability, even when we are putting together a system that has greater involvement for parents, for educators, for students. Look, 1 in 300 Americans is a student in the New York City public school system. This is a system where we are failing to deliver excellence to students, to teachers, to parents, and it is time to have a mayor who understands not only the crisis in front of us, but the fact that we have to change our ways if we want to change our results. And that is what we are running on, a plan for the future, not to simply relitigate the past.
Mr. Sliwa, you recently proposed reducing the education budget by $10 billion, or about 25%, to help pay for tax cuts. But your website includes things like, quote, hire more therapists, expand services for students with learning differences, build new vocational high schools, restore arts programs, expand athletic programs, and increase teacher pay to attract and retain top talent. Those are all exact quotes from your website. How do you defund the education department by 25% to cut taxes, add in the Trump administration's various cuts, and do all those expansions at the same time?
Well, let me tell you, you have a bureaucracy at the Tweed Courthouse, perfect place to house the Department of Education because of the corruption in the top ranks. You have 13 deputy chancellors. You have about 50 department heads. Nobody at the school level ever deals with them. $41,000 we pay per student, and teachers still have to reach into their pockets to pay for basic supplies. You cut at the top, contracts that have been negotiated, that have not been overseen. You will save millions and millions.
My man said Doge cuts. We're going to do Doge cuts, but for education in New York City.
Dollars. And yes, you open up the schools as it was when I went to public school, after school center, night center, weekend center, not just sports, but culture, plays, musicals. People used to be able to take instruments home when they were in band and orchestra. That attracted children. 1/3 of our children don't even come to school.
Like, again, if you could do what he's talking about, to be able to simultaneously cut all of this quote-unquote unnecessary bureaucracy, aka the administration that keeps this fucking all these school districts running in New York City, they would have done this already. They would have been able, why wouldn't this have been done?
And we need more vocational training like we had when I was growing up.
Every musical has a right to exist. And he said in the previous debate that it is the mayor's duty to attend every single parade, but will he promise tonight that it's the mayor's duty to attend every single musical in New York City?
Depleted, and more charter schools. We need to raise the cap and have more charter schools for the children who have been waiting to get in for years.
And Katie has an education question for Mr. Cuomo.
Thanks, Brian. Mr. Cuomo, there's currently a state law to reduce class sizes in the city. You recently described the law as, quote, reckless, and proposed that popular schools be exempted from this law. You also want to start closing low-performing schools, one of the most controversial policies of Mayor Bloomberg. Would you defy the class size law, and if you close existing schools rather than work to improve them, what specifically helps the kids learn more? and where?
Yeah, the common denominator on all these things is, the question is, what is your plan to change things, and what is your ability and experience to do it? These are management challenges. And I have managed large bureaucracies. The Department of Education, we lost 1 million students. What's happening is young families have to make a decision when their child has to go to school. They're deciding to go to the suburbs, go to Jersey. They're not going to sacrifice their kid. So it is
And he said this last time, but I don't know like what data he's familiar with, that like people are dissatisfied with the education in the public school education in New York City. So they're undertaking like moves, and it's primarily motivated by that. It just seems crazy to me to think that there is a mass exodus of New York City residents with children that are doing so on the basis that they want to provide their child access to higher quality public ed in New Jersey. This just sounds unbelievable to me, but maybe there's data that bears this out.
A terrible problem for the entire city, the shrinking public school system. I would double the gifted and talented programs, double the number of specialized high schools, keep the SAT, and keep...
The question is, your policy is to fuck people. How do you plan to fuck people and not fuck people at the same time? No, literally.
Mayoral control. It is wholly inconsistent to say, I think it's a top priority, but I want to give up mayoral control, but I want to be a mayor who runs grocery stores. Forget the grocery stores. Run the Department of Education. It was the most single instrumental reform. Mayor Bloomberg was right. The mayor in Boston and Chicago, don't give up mayoral control.
Would you defy the law, the class size law?
Don't you just love when an independent candidate who really shouldn't even be up on the fucking stage is saying, Mayor Bloomberg was right?
The problem with the class size law is a nice idea. The state didn't send the money. The state has not been doing its fair share for the city. If you have a nice idea, that's nice. Send the money.
And just a fact check, I don't think we lost 1 million students. We have just about under 1 million students in the DOE system. But just a quick show of hands.
I'm sorry, yes.
And just a show of hands, no talking. Who?
Okay, so they didn't lose 1 million students. Why did he said that? Like, I wish they would have interjected and cut him off immediately after he fucking said that.
Who is in favor of the cell phone ban in schools? Raise your hands. Everyone has raised their hands. They all are in favor of the cell phone ban. Thank you.
Okay, Cuomo raised it for like 2 seconds and then started scratching his face.
And in schools, raise your hands. Everyone has raised their hands.
He like raised it and then immediately lowered it. What?
They all are in favor of the cell phone ban. Thank you.
Okay. Candidates, I want to talk about Rikers Island. Under city law, the jail complex on Rikers is supposed to close in 2027. That's something that the next mayor is going to have to navigate. The population, however, has only gone up. It's surpassing 7,000 detainees, and a judge this year put Rikers on a path toward federal receivership. So here's the question. As mayor, will you commit to the closure of Rikers Island as required? And if not, what is your alternative plan? We'll start with you, Mr. Sliwa.
Number one, the architect for the closing of Rikers Island is on this stage.
That's so he can deny if somebody presses him. I was just raising it to scratch my face. Oh, 100%. He's being non-committal, which is funny because he was like chastising Zohran Mamdani for the same thing on the ballot amendments.
Former Governor Andrew Cuomo, he was the first, and his apprentice is Zohran Mamdani. No, you keep Rikers Island open. There are 7 functioning buildings, 3 others that need to be rehabbed. You can move those who have mental health issues and give them the treatment they need as long as they're detained on Rikers Island. Some people do a year of time if they're given that in the courts rather than be shipped upstate. So there are a variety of inmates. We have allocated $8 billion for 4 community jails. The price tag is now up to $16 billion and will only house 4,000 of the 7,000. Guess what? We keep the inmates on Rikers Island and we turn those 4 units in the neighborhoods into affordable housing that we've all been clamoring for.
What about the law that requires the closing?
Oh, you go into court, you fight. You fight for the taxpayers and you fight to keep inmates on Rikers Island so that we don't just have to lock up toothpaste in New York City, but we lock up inmates.
Mr. Cuomo.
Zohran has said he'd honor the law closing Rikers in 2027. You can't. Unless you intend to
It's the law of nature. Rikers Island has to exist. There's no way to get rid of it. It just has to be. You cannot do it. You cannot get rid of it.
All the people
Cannot
on
close it down.
Rikers Island,
Can't be done.
which is the Democratic Socialist policy. The county jails are not going to be built.
This man has 16 cats. That is disqualifying for any opinion on policies. I'm sorry. Did you say disqualifying? I think you meant that is the qualifying reason. And that's the reason why I listened to Curtis.
Mistake. The whole plan was a mistake. They are years late, billions over budget. I would say scrap the county jails.
What is the attachment to Rikers? Looking tough on crime.
build new jails on Rikers Island, provide ferry and bus transportation for people.
I mean, it's also possible that they're like, I wouldn't be surprised if there's like private prison contracts or something that runs through Rikers that they're also incentivized to maintain or have relationships with donors or something like that.
From the other boroughs to visit on Rikers Island and then use the existing 4 sites for commercial residential. But you cannot close Rikers on 2027 because there's no place to put the people unless you're going to release 7,000 people.
Well, you're familiar with the idea that a law is passed, it's supposed to be followed, even if it's difficult, even if the timeline is screwed up, even if the money's not there.
Yeah, so then, which is Zohran's position, then you're saying release the 7,000 people. And I'm saying I'm not going to release 7,000 criminals into New York City.
Mr. Mamdani.
That's what Zohran Mamdani said. If you go on his website, it says, release all criminals from Rikers. Just let them onto the streets. Just don't even worry about it. That's how committed he is to getting rid of Rikers. Yep.
No one on this stage that is saying that. Yet Andrew Cuomo will repeat it again and again. What I have said time and again, I'll repeat it again, is that yes, we have to close Rikers Island. Rikers Island is a stain on the history of this city. And that this current administration has made it nearly impossible to do so by the stipulated timeline. So what I will do is everything in my power to try and meet that deadline, knowing that Eric Adams has made it so difficult because he's had no interest in actually following through on it. And as much as you will hear about experience and running a government, what Andrew Cuomo doesn't seem to understand is the city has already entered into contracts for these borough-based jails, and to end those contracts would be to incur massive fiscal penalties, but that's not something that he seems to care about, even as he speaks about the fiscal stewardship of this city.
If I may, you want to talk to me about running government or managing projects? Yeah. I built the 2nd Avenue subway. I built the Mayoral Cuomo Bridge, the largest infrastructure project in the United States of America, $5 billion on time, on budget. 2nd Avenue subway, Moynihan train hall. Of course there's costs incurred. The question is going to be how much...
He acts like anybody that ascends to this office, like, if you don't have the exact sort of administrative history or experience that it's like you couldn't learn on the job, or like you couldn't be able to accomplish those very same things using the same mechanisms that he had access to when he was governor. Like, it's such a stupid talking point.
How much more does it cost to finish the jail, and are you better off cutting your losses? That's the question in the discussion, and you sit down with the contractor and you negotiate. But your position of, I'm going to close it on 2027.
The candidates get to pick their own audiences tonight or what? There's been a lot of people in this crowd like fucking seal clapping for Cuomo. So the venue, whatever venue that they're at, and they said at the beginning, but I can't remember, definitely has a lot of Cuomo heads in the audience.
The question is yes or no. Do you close it in 2027? You still haven't answered.
You will hear from Andrew Cuomo about his experience as if the issue is that we don't know about it. The issue is that we have all experienced your experience. The issue is that we experienced you taking a $5 million book deal while you sent seniors to their deaths in nursing homes. The issue is that we experienced you cutting funding for the MTA to send money.
Oh, wait, I saw there was something about this that they were like, this needs context, when I was like skimming on the before. Here it is. You sent seniors to their deaths in nursing homes. Zohran Mamdani, Democratic nominee for mayor. This needs context. No scandal from Cuomo's tenure as governor has lingered more than the directive the state health department sent to nursing homes in March 2020 at the height of the coronavirus pandemic, telling them to readmit patients who had tested positive for COVID. Though Cuomo says he was following the federal government's lead, his opponents say the guidance caused thousands of unnecessary deaths. Cuomo and his aides compounded the problem when they released a report in July 2020 that shifted blame by undercounting the number of deaths. The report came from the state health department, but it was later revealed that Cuomo and his top aides had edited to conceal how many nursing home residents had died, a finding that congressional investigators also reached. It's so funny that they were like, this needs context or whatever, and you would think that he's saying something that kind of oversimplify something and that might exonerate Andrew Cuomo more. But no, this is worse. The context that you get is like, oh yeah, he did that, and he also cooked the fucking numbers after the fact by conspiring with his aides to make administrative changes to cover his tracks. Even fucking more damning.
Upstate skiers
with that framing from the Times, man.
The issue is that we saw you give $959 million in tax breaks to Elon Musk. The issue is your experience.
No, the only thing, the issue is you have no experience. You've accomplished nothing. You haven't proposed a bill on anything, and you still haven't said if you'll close Rikers in 2027.
Stop. I got the answer to the questions I was asking. Thanks very much. Let's move on.
My next question is about another law that's already on the books. The city has a climate law, Local Law 97, that will require a large percentage of the buildings in the city to reduce greenhouse gas emissions by 40% by 2030 or face financial penalties. As you know, some co-ops, condos, and landlords are afraid of crushing expenses, but buildings account for 70% of the city's climate pollution emissions, so reduction would need to include that sector. You all have taken different positions on this. I want our viewers and listeners to hear each of you, starting with Mr. Cuomo in this case. Would you abide by and make others abide by Local Law 97 as it stands?
As it stands,
and he put out a book talking about how he did a great job. I almost forgot about that.
As it stands, you're going to have to be flexible in the application. What's going to happen now is many companies will just pay the fine because it's cheaper than actually following the rules. And that's the last thing you want. That
I'm a little bit surprised that they're retreading as many of the same questions as they did in the first debate. You would think that they'd use it like the second debate to get either more into the weeds or to just ask a different questions. Like, I realize they kind of do have to touch on like some, maybe like the top 3 same issues or whatever, but it is weird that like, given how many problems New York City has to or not problems, but things New York City has to manage, that they don't have more questions to ask them.
It's just nothing, right? It's just another tax, in essence, on these units. So there's going to have to be flexibility. It's the right intent, it's the right goal, but how you implement it has to deal with reality and the costs. Again, otherwise, I can tell you, I've had this conversation with many of...
The exact same. I didn't watch the first one. No, they haven't asked about what parades they're going to attend and what parades don't exist that they think need to exist, and what parades, if any, that they would boycott. I really do think that parade question was literally planted there by somebody who had access or who had input on what questions to ask the candidates to try to get Zohran Mamdani to say that he would boycott some sort of pro-Israel parade or something like that. But they didn't ask it specific enough, so he was just like, no, I don't have any thoughts on that. Nothing's coming to mind. I'm focusing on, if I win, I'm going to be focused on being the fucking mayor, not on parades.
Them, they're not even going to try. They're just going to pay the fine.
What kind of flexibility? If you could be
it's going to be
specific.
Timing, and what do we mean, and can it be phased in?
Mr. Mamdani.
The climate crisis is one of the most pressing crises facing this city, and we deserve to take it on with the urgency it requires. It is right now easier to pay the fine than to actually comply with this legislation. We have to ensure that we make it easier for condo and co-op owners to follow these laws, and we do that by eliminating the application fees for J51, by extending that tax credit, by also creating a one-stop shop in New York City government that procures at a large scale heat pumps and the very kind of infrastructure needed to comply. We've seen this happen before with clean energy work that's been done in Woodside houses. It's time to bring that kind of work right here so that we can ensure full compliance with Local Law 97.
I read that you're proposing the city buy those heat pumps and other tech in bulk and give them to landlords and other buildings for free. Is that accurate?
No, it's to actually ensure that they can afford the cost of these things by purchasing using an economy of scale.
Thank you. Mr. Sliwa.
I'm the only one on this stage totally opposed to Local 97. 100,000 condo and co-op owners. Their maintenance fees will go up 30%. They won't have enough reserve fees. You're going to see...
Is it any surprise that a Republican candidate doesn't give a fuck about anything that's attempting to address climate change in New York City?
Massive flight from the co-ops and condos. Now, they want to electrify...
I wouldn't even be surprised if he doesn't even think climate change is fucking real.
Everything. Well, there's a man on the stage who took Indian Point offline. That was 25%
and
of
I don't know what would be worse, being a climate change denier... because if you were, then I guess it would naturally follow that you don't care about policies like this, or being somebody that understands and knows about climate change, but doesn't think that there needs to be drastic action despite knowing the disaster that climate change is going to unleash with respect to a warming climate as well, rising temperatures and water.
Our electrical output, we haven't been able to meet the need since, and as a result, they're now starting to build, because of the city of yes that I'm opposed, these lithium-ion battery warehouses. Where? Staten Island 38, Brooklyn 12. 8 in Queens, 4 in the Bronx, and none in Manhattan? Oh, no. They're going to electrify, and they don't have the electrical output. So I say no to Local 97. And when I'm mayor, I tell all my commissioners, throw a monkey wrench into the process. We slow it down because we want these condo owners and co-op owners to stay.
Mr. Cuomo, you were name checked on Indian Point?
I think I was. Indian Point was a danger. It was the nuclear power plant most closely located to the densest population. There was no nuclear plant on the globe that close to a city. There were 20 million people in what was called the kill zone. Before I became Attorney General, there had been a number of lawsuits to stop it. What we did is we brought cables down from upstate New York down the Hudson River.
I mean, this doesn't sound that bad, though. This might be like the one base thing that he did when he was governor.
We have nuclear upstate. We're in rural areas to bring that nuclear power down the cables and then on that basis substitute for Indian Point's power.
Yes or no?
Electricity rates are too high to pay because of you, Andrew Cuomo.
Yes or no? Would any of you support new nuclear power plants to help bring down the rising cost of utilities in New York State? Just yes or no, Mr. Sliwa?
Upstate, they're already starting, yes.
Mr. Mamdani?
I think it's something worth exploring.
Mr. Cuomo?
Is that a yes?
Yeah.
Yes.
Katie?
We're going to move on now to the economy. Ms. Mamdani, you're proposing to raise the city's minimum wage to $30 an hour by 2030. How would you get the state legislature to go along with your plan? And do you think it's realistic to feel that a small business owner would have to pay every employee this amount, especially when the city currently doesn't mandate that figure for its own public employees? And I have separate questions for Mr. Sliwa and Mr. Cuomo.
So this would be something where the city would have to start doing so as well, because any law that we want New Yorkers to follow, the city should be following it itself. And the reason that we put forward $30 by 2030 is that that's the minimum that a New Yorker needs to be paid to be able to afford to live in this city. And what we are looking at right now is the possibility of the place that we know and love becoming a museum of where working class people used to be able to live. Our proposal that we've put forward would be phased in over a longer period of time for small business owners to ensure that they could deal with this. And it's also one that we are confident we would be able to accomplish.
Anyone see Ezra Klein's new interview, latest in normalized fascism series? Who is the guest?
Because of the fact that we are seeing from New Yorkers time and time again, the absence of it is pushing them to live in Jersey City, to live in Pennsylvania, to live in Connecticut, because they can't afford to live in New York City.
Thank you. And for Mr. Sliwa and Mr. Cuomo, if you're not in favor of a $30 minimum wage, what are your plans to raise the salaries of workers in New York City? We'll start with you, Mr. Sliwa.
First off, Zohran Mamdani deals with fantasy, not reality. Look at all the Uber drivers. Look at all the taxi drivers, the Lyft drivers. They will now have driverless cars. That's what they're pushing. AI that's going to be wiping out so many jobs, especially for young men and women who went to school, got their
this is like, I guess, a valid thing to address, but AI is not at the point where that could be like a widespread thing.
Years of college
that people need to worry about or whatever. This idea that like fucking Waymos and shit are going to be taking over NYC anytime soon, and there's like no data for that.
2-year degree, and they're making $155,000, and then they get wiped out. You know what the corporate sector is going to do. They're going to bring in robotics. Zohran, stop dealing with fantasy and start dealing with reality. You're pushing businesses out because you want to tax them. I'm the only one here who wants to cut the corporate taxes, the income tax, the property tax we can cut in order to keep business.
Yeah, there's a problem with New York City with not enough businesses wanting to go there and do commerce. Like, again, one of the largest economies in the world. The idea that any business is going to forego like doing any sort of deals or engaging in New York City's economy or New York's economy because of these like taxes is laughable. They'll just eat the cost.
But if you raise the minimum wage too high, they're going to end up going in a different direction, and they're not going to hire workers. It's going to be robots and driverless cars.
And they fucking said the same shit when they were pushing for a $15 minimum wage, which I'm pretty sure even Cuomo ended up signing into law.
AI, and I'm opposed to that.
Thank you, Mr. Cuomo.
Crazy, the world of men.
I half agree with Curtis. There is, Zohran does have socialist theory colliding with practical reality. I went through this. We raised the minimum wage to the highest in the United States of America. New York set the bar. We set it at $15.
Okay, so you're literally saying that under your tenure, you introduced an unprecedented minimum wage standard in one of the largest economies in the entire world, not just the United States, and the economy didn't collapse? Crazy. So why is Zohran Mamdani's proposal so pie in the sky exactly? Please explain to me in great detail, Andrew Cuomo. I would love to hear why it works when you do it, but when Mamdani proposes it so we can keep up with inflation, it's not going to work anymore.
The other state said, that's crazy when we did it. People in the state said that was crazy when we did it. But it was calibrated. It was doable. We phased it in different parts of the state. We phased it in with small businesses. We gave them assistance. Because if you raise it too high, and I believe 30 is too high, I would raise it to 20. If you raise it to too high, you do two things. People lose their jobs. You bankrupt businesses. You're talking.
Okay, but what about the fucking people that need to make money to live there and to work, or like and to fucking live? Like I don't understand. Well, I do understand obviously because that's who pays his first campaign and shit. But how they think that again, this exclusive concern, really your primary concern. I should say not exclusive, but primary concern for the business owners, but not for the millions of fucking people that actually work in New York City.
About basically doubling payroll. And you can have a negative effect where literally businesses close and people lose their jobs. And overall, again, it's another tax on corporations, another reason to leave New York, another reason to pack up the family and get on I-95 and go to South Carolina and Florida and Texas.
All right. Candidates, we are coming down the home stretch. I want to alert our media partners, especially we're going to go over by 5 minutes, and we're going to have Brian lead a conversation about transit.
Right, and we're going to have to do this very briefly to each of you because you each have transit things to answer to. Mr. Cuomo, you say the city should...
Ask about college anti-Semitism, my top issue. Go.
Take partial control of New York City transit away from the MTA, which is mostly controlled by the state. Would the city then have to foot more of the bill? And if this is a good idea, why didn't you propose it as governor?
The capital, first of all, New York City owns the New York City Transit Authority, not the MTA. It leases the trains and subways to the MTA. And then the question is the division of responsibility. New York City does the safety along with the MTA. The problem the MTA is having is the capital construction projects. It has been an ongoing problem. I came in, I took over Moynihan and finished it. I came in and took over 2nd Avenue Subway, the L train tunnel. The capital construction projects are way overdue.
Would it fall more on the city to pay?
I would say no. There is a budget set. My only point is the MTA, which is a labyrinth bureaucracy set up by Rockefeller, which should have never been done in the first place. It's an overwhelming task for the greatest managers, and I hired both of them. But let the city manage the capital construction from the MTA budget.
Mr. Mamdani, make your case briefly for your proposal for free buses for everybody, even those who can afford to pay.
First I'll just say that one of the most celebrated leaders of the New York City Transit was Andy Byford, who had such a terrible experience working under Andrew Cuomo that he would rather work under Donald Trump right now. The proposal that we have put forward addresses the fact that today, in the wealthiest city, in the wealthiest country in the history of the world, 1 in 5 New Yorkers cannot afford the bus fare. It would cost $700 million a year to make the slowest buses in the country fast and free. And by doing so, we would generate more than double in economic revenue for New Yorkers across the city. It would be something that would reduce assaults on bus drivers, it would increase ridership on those buses, and it would actually have environmental impacts, as fewer New Yorkers would drive their own car or take a taxi and would instead get on the bus. And I know all of this because I delivered it as a state assembly member who won the first free buses in New York City's history.
Oh, yeah.
And Mr. Sliwa, your website, according to my reading, has a section on transit safety, but nothing on transit service. Do you have any core proposals for improving it?
Oh, sure. First off, Zohran, I get a good belly laugh.
Zohran, bro.
Oh, all right. I'll keep practicing.
I got you.
I get a good belly laugh every time I hear you say free fare in the subways. Half the people don't pay anyway. How about fair enforcement? I'm the only one who says we have all...
That's an argument against you? That's an argument in his favor, that like people aren't paying anyway, and so how is it fair to the few that are actually paying? So you may as well just subsidize it and make it free and try to improve the speed
All kinds of fare programs for the indigent and the poor. But if you don't pay your fare, there needs to be enforcement. And by the way, I've taken the subway almost every day of my life.
I promise to force you to pay for this. Very, very slow service.
Since I was 5. The worst time was the summer of 2017. The summer of hell, Andrew Cuomo,
right,
when you were running the subway system as the head of the MTA. I don't trust you with anything to do with mass transit.
How would you make it better?
Oh, very simply. Everybody pays their fare, enforcement, more cops in the subway system. And by the way, we can get more people to voluntarily actually sponsor their subway system stations, clean it up and beautify them and add some life so the community has input into the subway that they have to go through the sleaze and slime all the time.
All right, candidates, we've got just a couple of minutes. Let's have another quick lightning round where each candidate will answer my questions with a quick response, usually yes or no. Name one person you'd like to see run for president in 2028, Mrs. Sliwa.
Wow, in 2028. Man, I'm dealing right now with 2025.
Mr. Mamdani.
My only focus is on November.
Mr. Cuomo.
I haven't thought it through.
Okay. We have a city of hundreds of languages and cultures. Can you greet New Yorkers in a language other than your own, Mr. Cuomo?
Ciao. Buenos dias.
Ni hao,朋友.
Okay.
Buona fortuna per gendeane.
Okay.
Oh my, look at this.
Have you decided on a school chancellor, Mr. Sliwa?
Dumb question.
Yeah.
I know. Doesn't even compare it to the parade question, honestly.
Yes, I would ask Bob
I still
Holden,
need clarification on parades.
who's taught 40 years. He leads Democrats for Sliwa.
Okay. Mr. Mamdani.
No, I haven't decided on a chancellor as yet.
No. Okay. Should people be arrested for the solicitation of sex, Mr. Sliwa?
No. The Johns, yes. The pimps, the madams, and the absentee landlords.
Okay. Mr. Mamdani.
No.
Mr. Cuomo.
Zohran's decriminalization
for
prostitutes, Johns,
This
and
is the lightning round, remember? It's supposed to be like a yes or no, very quick
pimps
answer.
would be a disaster on the quality of life in
They
New
should be
York
arrested,
City.
you say? Should people be arrested for soliciting sex?
It is a criminal offense. I would keep it as it is.
Okay. Last question. Can you name one thing that New York got right during the COVID crisis, Mr. Sliwa?
New York got right. Oh, wow. He didn't get anything right during the COVID crisis.
Perfect answer. Fucking chef's kiss. Beautiful.
No.
Mr. Mamdani.
It only took me 15 minutes to get my vaccine shot when I went for that, and that was an efficient experience.
Mr. Cuomo.
Thank you for the compliment.
That was a city-run vaccine.
All right,
No,
gentlemen.
it wasn't.
Thanks so much.
Mamdani shouldn't have answered that. You should have gone with the fucking Curtis route or whatever and made Cuomo like defend something. I cannot believe that like in this lightning round, Cuomo didn't even answer the fucking question and there was no like yes or no, yes or no. They did that earlier with Zohran specifically. And Cuomo like one time, but Sliwa as well. But of course, in this they drop it.
Gentlemen, that is going to do it for this debate. I would like to thank the candidates and our partners and all of you at home. If you missed any part of this debate, you can watch it in its entirety at ny1.com and the Spectrum News YouTube channel. Early voting is set to begin across the 5 boroughs on Saturday, with several other races on the ballot as well, including city controller, public advocate, the 5-borough president, and members of the city council, as well as 6 ballot initiatives. There's some district attorney races as well. Election day is November 4th. Thank you all for watching. Have a great evening.
Good job, uniquely American. I can't play this to watch like copyright. The first thing in the description is something about like a music group that provides to them. But oh my, $10. What's going on here? Hold on, let me refresh the tip thing. Let's see. Sean, thank you so much. Entertaining stream. Curtis is funny. I mean, I think we can all agree that Curtis won tonight's debate, you guys. But seriously, it's like a little debate retrospective. I do think that the first one was stronger, just at first glance. But like higher energy from Mamdani in the first one. And I think the reason why is because he had that like standout moment where he was like, what I lack for experience, I make up for with integrity. And you know, what you make up for an experience, you could never make up for an integrity or something like that. That fucking banger that just like nailed Cuomo to the wall and definitely sticks out to me. I don't feel like he got the opportunity to do that today. I also feel like there were multiple times where Cuomo was able to have the floor for an extended period of time, launch a bunch of attacks at Mamdani, and he didn't get the chance or he didn't take the opportunity to properly respond to them. He did land a good blow by bringing up the fact that he sexually harassed those women, talking about giving a voice to victims, drawing attention to the creepy shit that Cuomo's been up to after the fact. legally, denying it, how gross it is that he says that these women fucking lie, drawing attention to the fact that the nursing home deaths, always good. I do think that he also, like, there's gaps in his performance because he didn't have solid answers or better answers for the ballot amendment. I do think that he should have, if his answer is, I haven't taken a position yet, at least kind of pat it out a little bit more with like an explanation as to why for the ones that you can. And it was unclear to me why, for anything other than the like the one that's going to change zoning regulations, why he was being evasive about it. Like, why haven't you taken a position? Or, like, you should have workshopped a position on whether or not you're going to be supporting the ballot amendments, or if you're going to ever take a position at all, with consolidating the like mayoral race with the presidential race. And unfortunately, I got to say the best answer on that one goes to Sliwa, because I do think he raises a good point and an important point by saying, no, if you consolidate them, obviously the idea is that there's less elections for them to have to run, manage, and probably does save money, but it makes it harder for, or like all of the attention's going to be on the national race and not on the mayoral race, or it's going to, people's attention's going to be divided. And I do think it's a very, very consequential race that you don't want to see fall to the, you know, backdrop just because that's going on simultaneously. So overall, I think Zohran Mamdani did really well. At the end of the day, I don't think the debates mean too much. There's a lot of other things that go into it, and I don't think that this is one of them. I would be surprised if Cuomo actually picks up more voters from this, because like he is trying to operate in the sort of like more Republican lane. But I did see something from the Times saying that like tonight made it clear that like Cuomo and Mamdani agree more on policy than Cuomo and Sliwa, even though I thought that there's like far too many similarities between Cuomo's platform and Sliwa's platform that on its face just doesn't make sense to me, because Cuomo's entire campaign has been about articulating those differences between himself and Zohran Mamdani and saying, not only am I not going to do that, but I am opposed to that. I don't want to do that. I want to do the opposite even. That was underwhelming generally from Mamdani. Yeah, like not as strong. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't great. I think he got some good moments, but yeah, kind of a little bit more low energy, which is funny because I thought the first one was a little bit low energy. I thought he could have gone on the attack more, but then he went on the attack more. And if this is what that performance looks like, I would prefer the first one, where he spends more time, I think, he spent more time in the first one going in depth with what his policies were going to be. And less time attacking, but then Sliwa kind of ended up picking up the mantle of being the attack dog in that debate, because he was going hard after Cuomo as well. So if I refresh this, Cuomo and Sliwa attack Mamdani in final NYC mayoral debate. Zohran Mamdani, Democratic nominee and frontrunner, was put on the defensive as his rivals Andrew Cuomo and Curtis Sliwa, who again were like double teaming him at multiple points, sought to siphon some of his support in their last meeting before early voting begins. And also, you know, this is a small thing, but it does leave an impression in the viewers' minds. There was applause at multiple points for Cuomo, so they had people in the audience at this community college where it was held at that are in the tank for Cuomo, and even at some points they were booing Mamdani, which doesn't look very good. The debate is now over. Here are 7 takeaways. So the frontrunner sought to play it safe in the final debate of the race, avoiding contentious issues and pledging to keep the police commissioner. Cuomo, who is running as an independent, and Sliwa, the Republican candidate, repeatedly attacked Mamdani and accused him of being inexperienced and evasive. And I do think, unfortunately, the evasive attack will land. I don't think the inexperienced one will land as hard. I do think it will land because, again, I don't think that Mamdani had a proper answer to articulate what his record was and what exactly he did as assemblyman, and the few changes that he did make, or the few bills that he did advance, like how, like there was one moment towards the end where he was able to talk about the busing thing, but when they were attacking him for not doing anything as an assemblyman, he should have been bringing that up and gone on the defensive for that. The candidates had tense arguments over how to build housing, combat anti-Semitism, stand up to President Trump, and navigate immigration raids. Here are 7 takeaways from the debate. Early voting starts on Saturday ahead of the November 4th election. A more energized Cuomo came to fight, which is true. Cuomo definitely did improve his performance this time around. Less mentions of Hassan Piker, more discussions about his record, and just generally being more aggressive in the way that I think Mamdani probably needed to be. Mr. Cuomo appeared to have more energy than the last debate and landed more blows against Mamdani. Cuomo, who was criticized by Dems and Republicans alike over his languid debate performance last week, assailed Mr. Mamdani at every turn. He focused on Mamdani's limited experience and youth, blasted him for refusing to take positions on some issues, but I will say the saving grace is that this is the second debate. It's going to get far less engagement and far less viewership than the first one, and really they repeated a lot of the same questions, so voters aren't even, worse off or worse for wear for not actually having seen this debate from start to finish. My main opponent has no new ideas. Mr. Cuomo said he has no new plan. It's Bill de Blasio rehash, and we know how that turned out. He's never run anything, managed anything. He's never had a real job. Cuomo, and again, he should have hit it with the fact that you're a fucking Nepo baby, dude. Mr. Cuomo sought to highlight a central argument that he had experience on the job. If you want to be in government, then you have to be serious and mature. Still, Cuomo struggled to shed concerns over his tenure as governor, including his failure to address the city's homelessness crisis and his resignation in 2021 after a series of sexual harassment allegations, which he denies. And yeah, him being like, that's the responsibility of the mayor, not the governor or whatever. It's just weak shit when you were like just bragging on stage about, I was the HUD secretary and here's how you build housing. Here's how you address these things. Here's how you make it more affordable. Here's how you address homelessness. But then when he was the governor, he was like, well, I couldn't do it then because I was only the governor, which doesn't make any sense. When Mr. Mamdani had the opportunity to ask Mr. Cuomo a question, he asked about the allegations, noting that one of the women who accused him, Charlotte Bennett, was in the debate audience. You sought to access her private gynecological records. Mr. Mamdani said she cannot speak up for herself because you lodged a defamation case against her, which is great that he mentioned this. I, however, can speak. What do you say to the 13 women that you sexually harassed? Mamdani mostly played it safe. I think he played it too safe, to be honest. Mr. Mamdani sought to avoid making a mistake, steering clear of some thorny questions and smiling into the camera. And when you're being this evasive, the smiling does come off as like smug and unearned. When you're being forward, aggressive, and comprehensive in your answers, which he was when directly asked a question, but not doing any more and just kind of doing the bare minimum, I don't think that that looks good. I think it can make you look a little bit smarmy and like arrogant to people that are skeptical of you. Mr. Mamdani took quite a bit of heat for not weighing in on several housing measures that will be on the ballot. I have not yet taken a position on those, Mr. Mamdani said when pressed on the matter, an answer that drew immediate and vocal taunting from both of his opponents. Many Democrats, including Governor Kathy Hochul, is it Hochul or Hochul? I think it's Hochul. Support the housing measures, arguing that they will boost housing production. Democratic leaders in the city council opposed them, saying that they would undermine the council. The moderators pressed Mr. Mamdani on his plans for public schools. He kept it vanilla. I believe that every single child deserves to have an excellent public education, and we have not seen that under the stewardship of those schools with this mayoral administration, Mr. Mamdani said. Like, he definitely could have like gone for Eric Adams or whatever and like either found something then likened it to Cuomo's promises or what Sliwa was trying to do, even if he thinks it's important to attack Sliwa. But I wonder if Sliwa's picked up any more voters since like the first debate and the last. Jessica Tisch might have won the debate. Who's that? Oh, the commissioner. Right. All three candidates said they would keep Ms. Tisch as a police commissioner and praised her efforts to improve public safety. Confirmed a report in the New York Times that he planned to keep her in the job. He said he was determined to hire the best and the brightest for his admin. Took on a broken status quo and started to deliver accountability, rooting out corruption, and reducing crime across the 5 boroughs. His decision is a critical overture to business leaders and moderate voters who might be worried about Mamdani's past criticism of the police. It's so funny that this was like a big moment to them because I don't even remember this until I'm like reading it now. It was like such a footnote. Ms. Tisch is highly regarded and named to the job by Mayor Eric Adams last November. Allies have signaled for months that she would want to stay in the job regardless of the election's outcome. Cuomo said that he did not believe that Mr. Mamdani would ultimately keep her, arguing that they have vastly different ideologies. Their philosophies are totally incongruous, Mr. Cuomo said of Mr. Mamdani and Ms. Tisch. Cuomo and Sliwa gang up on Mamdani. He was standing in the middle of the debate stage and often was attacked from both sides. Though Mr. Cuomo and Mr. Sliwa have been fiercely criticizing one another, they were able to overcome their bitter differences to focus their fire on Mr. Mamdani, which, again, in the first debate, it was so much better to be watching Sliwa and Mamdani play good cop, bad cop, and go after Cuomo, but this time it was definitely Cuomo and Sliwa the entire time going at Mamdani. And then on top of it, like, I feel like I don't want to say it was like biased entirely, but it was definitely slanted in Cuomo's favor. Though Mr. Cuomo and Mr. Sliwa have been fiercely, they overcome that. We saw that. Focused their fire on Mamdani, including over a short period in government and his commitment to combating anti-Semitism, which, as we looked into with fucking Sliwa's history, is a fucking so hypocritical and a joke coming from him. And obviously from Cuomo, who's just like, I'm pro-Israel, therefore how could I be anti-Semitic? What is that? After Mr. Cuomo renewed his criticism of Mr. Mamdani, Mamdani's past comments on Israel, Sliwa said his 2 young sons who are Jewish felt unsafe. I hate this language. And that Mr. Mamdani was not addressing the concerns of some Jewish New Yorkers. So Zohran Mamdani, the Democratic nominee for NYC mayor, holds a double-digit lead in the polls, with his most recent support at around 43.2%. He is ahead of Cuomo, 28.9% independent, and obviously of Sliwa, 19.4% Republican, but the lead narrows if Sliwa's votes are reallocated. But I don't see that Sliwa's going to be dropping out. Like, he was just asked not that long ago, like, are you going to be dropping out? And he was like, why are you calling on me to drop out? I've actually earned the nomination of a major political party in this race as the Republican candidate, as opposed to Andrew Cuomo, who lost the Democratic nomination and then proceeded to run as an independent. So you should be calling on him to drop out, which actually makes perfect fucking sense. And I was surprised that that wasn't some sort of question today about, like, them dropping out. Who would you endorse or whatever? They only asked him about, would you endorse, or, like, accept Eric Adams's endorsement or something like that? Their joint approach, if unplanned, put Mr. Mamdani on defense. He told Mr. Sliwa that he had never supported global jihad. This was straight up fucking racist from Sliwa, obviously. And that he was facing unfair attacks because of his Muslim faith. Both Mr. Sliwa and Cuomo repeatedly accused Mamdani of flip-flopping on some issues. After they jeered Mr. Mamdani for avoiding taking a position on the ballot questions, Cuomo threw his hands up. What a shocker, Cuomo said of Mamdani. Don't worry, once he takes it, he'll change it anyway. But again, there were multiple times, that wasn't the only thing. They were also saying that, like, you don't have answers and you're inexperienced, but there were multiple times where Cuomo was stumbling over his own answers to questions that he was being asked, where they were asking for specifics about things that he wanted to change, implement things about his records that he seemed to have difficulty recalling. So I wonder if they're going to talk about that at any point in this. Sliwa criticized Mamdani's plan to raise the minimum wage. Cuomo gave a verbal high five. I have to agree with Curtis. Of course you do. Sliwa was sharper on policy, but less entertaining. Very true. Sliwa practically stole the show at the last debate with piercing attacks and offbeat zingers. He remained far more focused on the issues at this debate, trying to make a case that he still has the chops to be a serious contender and deserves to stay in the race. The format of the debate made a difference. In the first debate, Sliwa often clamored to be heard and had to interrupt with a quip in order to seize attention. At the final debate, the moderators gave Mr. Sliwa more time to expand on his policy views and generally kept the atmosphere more orderly. But the in-depth discussion seemed to rob Mr. Sliwa of the pithy interjections that had won him a few new fans, social media acclaim, and viral video clips. Though he still delivered a few memorable attacks, his performance was less must-watch TV. When Sliwa got to a question, he asked Mr. Mamdani about his free bus plan. Zohran, you talk about free, but we know somebody's got to pay for it, he said. Free buses don't grow on trees, you guys. Did you know this? When Mr. Sliwa turned to Mr. Cuomo and asked about the sexual harassment allegations, Cuomo dismissed him. I'm not sure what the man said. And then it's such fucking bullshit that the fucking moderators didn't drill him hard on that and make him answer or make him address it and repeat what he had said so that he could address it. So fucking stupid. You know, maybe I'm willing to say that they're in the fucking camp for him, because that is pretty insane. I feel like if Mamdani tried to be evasive on something related to something as scandalous as that, by the other candidates trying to field questions, that they definitely would have zeroed in and been like, do you have a response to that? Here's what he said. If he tried to dodge it, he'd be like, oh, I didn't hear him. And then they also, like, when he like raised his hand about supporting the cell phone ban and then like started scratching his face or whatever, he like obviously is uncomfortable taking a position on that. All three criticized the ICE raids on Canal Street. The concern that President Trump might interfere in New York City has long hovered over the race. A federal law enforcement raid targeting illegal street vendors on Canal Street and Manhattan on Tuesday put the issue front and center. Asked how he would have addressed the raids, Cuomo said the only effective response would have been to match Trump's aggression. Citing his experience as governor, Cuomo insisted that the president puts his finger in your chest and you have to put your finger right back in his. Mamdani promised to, quote, end the chapter of collaboration between City Hall and the federal government and claimed the city had been subjected to under Mayor Adams, adding that he would fight Trump's immigration actions every single step of the way, which is good. At the same time, Mamdani repeated that he would be amenable to working with the president to address the city's affordability crisis. Sliwa gave a more surprising answer, that a more deft and conciliatory approach was required. When it came to Trump, he promised to engage in negotiation. Sliwa said that immigration authorities should not have intervened on Canal Street. The Fed should not have stepped into this situation, he said. This is a matter that should have been left up to the NYPD, which is what Cuomo said as well. The candidates traded barbs over singing water fountains, cocktail napkins, and being knocked on your tushies. What is that? What is this? Tushies? I don't know. Winded on by developers. Amid rumblings of an endorsement, Cuomo joins Adams at a Knicks game. Holy fuck. So he did say that he would take his endorsement, but this is like fucking disgraceful that he's like palling around with Eric Adams. But is anybody fucking surprised? Like Yiddish for butt? That's what I have to assume. Former Governor Andrew Cuomo walked off the mayoral debate stage Wednesday night and headed straight to Madison Square Garden, joining Mayor Eric Adams courtside at what felt like the prelude to an endorsement. The New York Knicks he said he would take it, were on their way to defeating the Cleveland Cavaliers in their season opener, and Cuomo, who was trailing in the polls, seemed to be hoping for a campaign buzzer beater. It was a photo op clearly meant to send a message around the city. Cuomo, who is running for mayor as an independent, still trails Mamdani, the Democratic nominee, by double digits in the polls, and that's another thing. I do think that Mamdani still has a really, really great chance of winning. Again, like, I'm not worried at all about this debate, like, interfering with that or anything like that. Oh, it took us. There you go. After I've heard that, like, but reading it with the CH threw me off. After Mr. Adams, who has been running for re-election as an independent, dropped out of the race last month, Cuomo gained 9 points in one poll. He's eager to tap into the mayor's dwindling reservoirs of support among black voters and the Orthodox Jewish community. Mamdani and Curtis said that they would not accept Adams's endorsement if offered. Only Cuomo said he would. Curtis was like, he should be in fucking jail, which was based. Mamdani posted a picture, which is, again, something that Mamdani should have said. Curtis actually stole his thunder on that one. Mamdani posted a picture of Mr. Adams and Cuomo at the game and wrote, corruption goes courtside. Let's see. I mean, hell yeah. Mr. Adams has not backed a mayoral candidate so far, but he posted a photo of himself with Mr. Cuomo at the game and seemed to be on the verge of offering an endorsement. We need to win for the city, the mayor wrote. Can't go backwards. Thanks, Eric. Adams has been critical of Mamdani, calling his proposals to freeze rent on rent-stabilized apartments and to provide free buses fantasies. Yeah, helping the public truly is a fantasy to these fucking New York Dems. I know that. That's why they don't like you, dude. And also because you're a corrupt piece of shit, but your policies fucking suck. Before he dropped out of the race, the mayor rarely has a kind word for Cuomo, but on Wednesday evening, the two seemed like best buddies. Very common. Mr. Adams and Mr. Cuomo are bitter rivals with somewhat similar politics. Their platforms, pro-Israel, tough on crime, skeptical. God, they like always bring this up, man. Pro-Israel. I mean, they are, but yeah. Tough on crime and skeptical of the democratic socialist ideals that Mr. Mamdani embraces often overlap. I mean, yeah. Is anybody really surprised that like a corrupt politician and a disgraced former governor, they get along? No way. Mr. Adams is 65, Cuomo is 67. In the early stages of the race, Adams and Cuomo looked locked in a generational fight with Mamdani, 34, a state assemblyman who has rocketed to stardom with pledges to make the city more affordable. Both have ripped into him and accused him of socialist and extremist ideas. Oh no. Relationship between these two, the Zingas. Posting photos. After the debate, Curtis Sliwa calls himself a spokesman for the working class people in New York during an interview with Sean Hannity on Fox News. He ridiculed Mamdani for smiling through much of the debate, which I actually kind of share this. Again, like he needed to be more robust in some of his answers if he's going to do that. Every time he lies, I think of Pinocchio, he said, but instead of his nose growing larger, his smile gets bigger and bigger. Damn. So Curtis Sliwa saved some of the most lethal criticisms for Hannity's show, I guess. Speaking in the spin room, Karen Hinton, a former consultant for Cuomo who has claimed that he touched her inappropriately decades ago, says that when Cuomo took a dismissive tone towards the sexual harassment scandal during the debate, he basically harassed all those women again. I mean, yeah, obviously the point is to fucking intimidate them, but... Are they going to talk about Mamdani at all? Mamdani, who said on the debate stage that he would rank Sliwa second if the election used a ranked choice method, told reporters after the debate there was only one other candidate on that stage who seemed to love this city. I don't even disagree with him. Like, I was thinking about this last time, and I honestly do think that, like, yeah, Cuomo's like such a corrupt piece of shit that he's liable to change. He's lying and saying and doing whatever he needs to say and do to try to get elected, to try to win. But Curtis, at the very least, again, even though he has horrible fucking policies, I think Cuomo has so much personal baggage that you can't think that he's not going to be a massive liability, because not only is it bad for Democrats to like welcome him back into the fucking umbrella after so many of them disavowed him and then went quiet on this because they're not endorsing Mamdani, but he has so much personal baggage that you don't know that he's not going to make an Eric Adams type deal with Trump to avoid being personally prosecuted. And Sliwa just doesn't have that sort of baggage. And you know what you're going to get. It's going to be shitty Republican policies, but there is so many similarities between Andrew Cuomo and Sliwa's policy platforms. It is so fucking gross. Rikers must close. With a double-digit lead in the polls, Mamdani continued to aggressively attack his closet opponent, Cuomo. Closest opponent, Cuomo. Sliwa continued with the zingers he is known for, but also talked about his proposals. Well, that was lively. Kind of. Not sure if it changes anything, but it was definitely entertaining. And that I actually kind of agree with the Times on. But yeah, if you guys are watching on Twitch and you're not following me, please go ahead and do so. That way you can know when I go live, which is practically every single weekday, Monday through Friday at varying times. If you're watching on YouTube, please go ahead and like the stream. If you haven't already, it pushes it out to other people and really helps within the algorithm. Hit subscribe if you aren't already, and hit the bell. That way you can know when I go live on YouTube, which also houses all of my VODs, which also has timestamps. That way, if you're interested in looking through any of my past VODs, you can skip around to segments very, very easily by just looking in the comments and looking at the top pinned comment, because I always add timestamps after my VODs for the most part, or after my streams. If you want to support me, you can subscribe to me on Twitch. You can give subs throughout the chat, which is awesome, because then you give people an ad-free experience as well as access to cute emotes. And can also super chat me. You can also follow the links in my description box or pinned to my Twitch chat. I'm at Straighterade _ on everything. And that's going to do it for tonight, guys. I just wanted to go live to cover the debate. I will be back tomorrow. Don't know what I'm up to. Don't know what I'm doing. I'm probably going to get into the Graham Plattner Nazi tattoo story, see the reactions from both MAGA, the left, moderates, liberals, etc. Maybe check out the Ezra Klein podcast if he was interviewing some other right-wing dipshit and agreeing just way too much for comfort. But in the meantime, if you're on YouTube, you are going to be headed over to Riverboat Jack. And if you are watching me on Twitch, Clearwatch, thank you so much for the 100 bits. I don't know if anyone's told you yet, but your necklaces are fire. Thank you so much. Nobody has said that. Actually, everybody is going to Riverboat Jack, because Cinemarxism is offline now, and I was going to rate him. So, Riverboat Jack, there we go. All right, you guys. Thank you so much for watching and spending your night with me. I will see you guys tomorrow. Have a great rest of your night. Bye. And tell Riverboat Jack that I say hi.